ABC News investigation this morning into Joe Biden's son Hunter and questions about money he made from foreign business dealings while his father was vice president.
And did Joe Biden allow it? We're talking about millions of dollars in at least 2 countries.
Did you talk about China or your deal with China?
No.
A 12-hour flight over?
No, of course not.
That never came up?
No.
Less than 2 weeks after that trip, BHR Partners was launched, a private equity firm funded in part by Chinese banks.
He has come forward and said it was a mistake on his part to be on the board.
My son's business dealings were not anything with everybody that he's talking about.
What's your understanding of what your son was doing for an extraordinary amount of money?
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was on the board.
Hunter Biden holds an equity stake in a company that's taken over $1.5 billion in loans from the Chinese government. This is obviously an issue.
What they said is China would prefer Joe Biden.
China and Iran. China and Iran.
China and Iran want to see Donald Trump's defeat, and they're looking for ways to make that happen.
China's a great nation, and we should hope for the continued expansion.
Growth in China is overwhelmingly in our interest.
And there's much more to come.
And now the steel mill ain't even there.
Joe Biden siempre ha sido débil con los socialistas. Biden traicionó a los nicaragüenses. Votó para enviar la industria farmacéutica de Puerto Rico a China comunista. ¿Y cómo nos vamos a olvidar de sus regalos absurdos al régimen cubano o de sus elogios al dictador Maduro mientras asesinaba a los venezolanos? Ahora Biden ha publicado un plan de gobierno con el socialista Bernie Sanders y está respaldado por el castrochavista colombiano Gustavo Petro. Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Biden ha dejado clarísimo que él es la marioneta de los chavistas. Por eso, todos los hispanos tenemos que unirnos y votar por el presidente Trump para salvar a esta gran nación. Aquí no queremos socialismo.
I'm Donald Trump, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President, Inc.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv. Why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader? And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. You should be asking him the question. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. This appears to be an overwhelming abuse of power. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. Trying to intimidate a foreign leader. I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
There we go. Now we got volume. All right. Well, as I was saying, can you hear me now? I hear your mouse. It's just a little mouse clicker. No sound on Periscope. Are you kidding me? Oh gosh. Can you hear me in D Live? So is everything good? No voice, no sound on Periscope, huh? Well, everything seems to be working correctly. Oh, now I'm on. Okay, good. Awesome. Good to know, because I see my meters are working. I just had to do a little reset. As I was saying, I have some Project Veritas for those people, because I can't really talk a whole lot about the Bidens, because big tech gets their little panties in a wad, and their little Chinese puppet masters don't like what's coming out. They're censoring everything, even the slightest stuff. So I got a little bit of stuff for you, not much, but speaking of the big tech goonaberries, and in fact, I'm on Gab. I'm back on Gab for all those on that platform. Hit me up on that if you want. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you could join. I'm back. I've had a lot of different things I've had to do, and I've had to switch just to D Live for certain segments. So tonight I just want to do a whole round scope. So I know I got to be careful because of the Biden shit. So I'm gonna try, even though I don't like it, but it's either that or I get kicked off. I actually got a strike last night for a video I did a year ago, and there was nothing about it. There was nothing in it. So I had to take it down. But it looks like I'm also, also on YouTube, and then I'm on DLive, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. So far as I know, I'm on YouTube tonight. Anyway, the big tech is really a bunch of assholes. They're really being jerk offs. It's great to be back. Yes, we all have our little problems. Kimmy had them last week, so it's nothing new for all of us. And it's just they are, and I hope this really does happen. I hope they get the 230s taken away in the legislature, which actually protects them from liability, the big tech, because they abuse their power on censoring everybody. They don't want the Biden story out. They don't want certain tweets out from the president. They've been shadow banning us. They've been deleting our accounts. Maybe I can understand maybe a couple. They should have just took a tweet down. It's inappropriate. I will give them that one. But the people defense who has been tweeting Hunter Biden pictures, look what's on Periscope. It's really vile. They have nudity. They have they can talk about anything, and yet they don't want. It's blurred out, but it's a point. It's evidence of what Hunter Biden does, and that's still being censoring. They are digging hard, and we got to fight back because they cannot hide this. There's just no way. Lou Dobbs have picked it up. We have foreign countries like Australia, Hong Kong. They're talking about it. You're not going to censor us no matter what you do to us. It doesn't matter. We will find a way around it. and we have. I'm still waiting for hopefully a confirmation, or at least talk to somebody to get on Clout Hub. Then we won't have this problem anymore and just talk away. But there are things that, let's see. Yeah, I gotta be careful what I get because I got them a little mixed up. No, that's not what it is. It's this one. So I gotta be careful of the video I grab here, because I got a whole lot of stuff. There we go. Here's just a little taste of what big tech does to all of us, even the people who aren't doing anything.
We've been talking to a ranking member at Google, and he says there will be riots at Google if Trump wins. He says Google and YouTube play God with their power, and he even raises concerns about Google outsourcing American jobs to run surveillance on Americans.
If Trump wins, there will be riots. If the left wins, there will be ecstatic. So I disagree with the corporations playing God and taking away freedom of speech of both sides, basically.
Yeah. How are they doing that?
Like deleting tweets and whatever from the president, and deleting some of the stuff from the leftist media. So I'm like, you are playing selective God. Like, if it was squad, it doesn't matter, but for Trump, Melania Trump, it matters. And on the other side, Trump says something, misinformation, you're going to delete that because it's illegal under whatever pretext. And if a Democratic leader says that, then you're going to leave it like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you're not following one way or the other, you are just plain and simple trying to play God.
Yeah, they're trying to play God.
Yeah.
That's why you want to leave Google.
Yeah, it doesn't jive with me.
I mean, that's the most powerful company in the world.
In one way.
Yeah.
But morally and ethically, I disagree. And I guess that's one of the reasons I feel suffocated.
You what?
I feel suffocated at Google.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, on one side you have this professional or unprofessional attitude, and on the other side you have this ultra leftist attitude, and then like your entire existence is like questioned. So,
so who? I mean, the leftists must be in charge, I would imagine.
I don't know that because I mean the founders were ultra leftist. We know that.
Yeah.
But Sundar, I'm not sure.
You guys own YouTube, right?
We play God with that too.
What's that?
We play God with that too.
With YouTube?
Yeah. Like
how so?
Deleting all the controversial stuff, deleting all the KKK stuff, deleting all the anti-apartheid and anti-Semitism, all of the stuff. I'm like, it's not a good thing. I agree with that, but that if it's freedom of speech, both sides need to get their opinion.
Yeah. With the parties, though, I feel like they probably delete one and keep the other.
The parties can subscribe to whatever agenda, just like the individuals.
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm pretty sure if the GOP says KKK is fine, people who don't believe in that, they will abandon GOP.
This guy, Ritesh Lakar, a technical program manager at Google, is telling our journalists the truth about the company he has worked at for years. With the presidential election just days away, he is calling out his own friends in big tech.
You go to search and you type in like Donald Trump, and it's like all negative. And when you type in Joe Biden, it's all positive.
Because it's skewed by the owners or the drivers of the algorithm. It's skewed by the owners and drivers of the other algorithm. Like, so if I say, hey Google, here's $2 billion, feed this data set of whenever Joe Biden is searched, you get these results.
I mean, yeah, but it seems like they favor the Democrats. I mean, Because we are in America.
Even as a centrist, it just seems like it. Yeah.
I know, because like with Mr. Zuck. Yeah. But even in America, what are we saying? Because we're in America, the wind is blowing towards Democrats. Because GOP equals Trump and Trump equals GOP. Everyone hates it. Even though GOP may have good traits, no one wants to acknowledge them right now. So the wind is blowing in towards Democrats. So let's skew the results towards Democrats. I guarantee you 4 years from today, after the elections, depending on the performance, the wind may blow towards GOP.
You won't realize this until you start working for one of these companies. And I've worked for like mega corporations. This is the worst one when it comes to like following a leftist agenda.
Google is? Yeah.
When I worked for Caterpillar or Corning, politics really didn't matter. You just do your job and let's make crackers, let's make glass.
Blue collar companies.
Yeah. And here it's like, your opinion matters more than your work.
I'm just hoping that they went with the election, that they remain, out of it.
Yeah.
That they don't influence it in any way.
I hope so. We'll find out after the elections what happens.
This program manager at Google says the search giant's pandering to its leftist employees is beyond pathetic.
When Trump won the first time, people were crying in the corridors of Google. There were protests, there were marches, there were group therapy sessions for employees.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Organized by HR.
Wow.
Yeah. They were like days like, okay, don't come to work. We understand this is like a shocking event. Take some time off and cool off, and we'll regather again to figure out our strategy. That kind of stuff.
Go to your safe space.
I'm like, are you serious? Are you kidding me?
Ritesh Lakar also has concerns about Google's effort to outsource American jobs.
I can't keep doing this. Go and teach Chinese people how to do American jobs. And
I like this man. He has a conscience. He knows wrong from right. I like this guy.
Come back and get surveilled on the way, and then...
Were you doing that for Google?
Google, Fitbit, those two companies primarily.
So you were going there and working in China? Wow, for Google.
Yeah.
Wow. That's scary. Mm-hmm. I'm scared they're going to start doing stuff like that here.
Yeah. And when you have these candid conversations with your friends who are centrists or Republicans, then you wonder, all of a sudden, I should vote for Trump.
Power in the search. The power control reality. How do you feel about that? You can always, how does that make you feel? Something? What? Helpless. Helpless? What do you mean? I can't control it. I can't change it. I scared him yesterday. So. Yeah. All the Chinese stuff that you were telling me, the Chinese program, that's scary because they're going to do that here. I know. Yeah. So they can collaborate with China and no one would know about it. And I'm pretty sure they've already collaborated with the Democrats and the Republicans both just in 1 month. Really? Yeah. Sorry. Democrats and the Republicans both? Say that again. Yeah. If these companies are willing to go and be in bed with Chinese Communist Party, there's nothing stopping them to get in bed with both Democrats and Republicans here in the U.S.
He thinks that these Google guys are in league with the Democratic Party.
Yeah, they are. It's evident from the behavior. So
what's that?
It's evident from the behavior.
What do you mean? How so?
I mean, Trump wins, and the entire company is given a holiday. Go and take care of your family because you're in a shot, and we're going to have these therapy sessions.
If you're an insider at a big tech company and you want to expose the truth and seek justice, contact us at Veritas Tips at.
This is really important, and you got a lot of people who are risking their job to bring us this information, and this stuff is really important. And it's not only big tech stuff; it's everything. They are suppressing voter information. They've even threatened people. They're going to suspend your account if you try to predict the elections early, according to Mark Zuckerberg. So it's not only that. Here's a little bit of the Google interference.
Recently, we've seen censorship of free thought and stories from the big tech giants. Many believe this kind of editorial suppression will affect the upcoming election. But it seems the biggest tech giant of them all, Google, may have other ways to impact the election, this time coming from their ad sales division overseas.
The Republican Party that wields that influence. So, like, what can be done in that realm?
You can offer free credits, free advertising credits to Democratic parties to advertise. You can potentially censor out news from your search engine. I don't know how much you do that or not. Yeah, I think that.
But and
help them from safety also that makes decisions. There's different things in trust and safety, but yeah.
You would want to root for a rare progressive organization to have at least as much say or on the election. Kind of. I mean, can't they play a role?
And they do that.
Like in what ways, though?
They fund the parties. They help with the advertising.
Yeah.
I don't know if Google does that, but they can stop ultra far right parties to advertise, right?
Really?
Hate speech. Anything in regards to hate speech, you cannot advertise it. On YouTube side, they block videos that contain hate speech.
Right.
Year on year, 80% of videos uploaded have been blocked. In total, that contain hate speech.
Right.
It will never be a 100%.
That was Adriano Amaduzzi in Google's overseas ad sales division. He seems to link hate speech and conservative voices as one and the same. He unabashedly says that Google could get involved in our elections here in the United States by, quote, actually stopping right-wing parties from advertising, unquote.
How do they determine hate speech? Like, it's not really a concrete definition. So it's human reviewed, right, by trust and safety.
Oh, so they're the ones who determine. So
yeah,
trust and safety sets their own standards for hate speech.
And a lot of these people who are determining hate speech, they do work for Soros. It's like Media Matters. They are the, quote, fact checkers on everything. And we all know how that goes. You just can't get no independent people who are willing to reason out hate speech, because there's a difference between free speech and really hate speech. BLM is hate speech. Simple. The Klan is hate speech. The left is free to speak, and the right is also free to say and voice their opinion. We're allowed to voice our opinion. That's what this country is for. First Amendment right. Now, we've always seen this ever since the president has been running from 2016, that the left is continuously trying to silence us, and it's not going to happen. In fact, we're getting louder, and we're going to be so loud they will never ever be able to drown us out again. The hate speech is Antifa against the police officers, against a free society, against regular speech in general. They've done it for many speakers, especially at Berkeley, Milo for one. So their version is not correct.
Yeah, Exactly.
But so they can block, say it's not an extreme right wing, what if, and I agree with you, it's not their business to get involved, but they do. And what if people, the majority of trust and safety is extremely left, could they or would they get involved with our 2020 election?
Yeah, by potentially stopping right-wing parties from advertising.
So, can you do that?
Or reducing the exposure of their ads.
And are you able to do that, like within your?
Me personally, no.
But I mean, your department, like but it's advertising, right?
Yeah.
So, you mean like conservative companies or conservative?
No, it's more with conservative parties.
When we met Adriano in Dublin last year, he admitted he was pushing his progressive political agenda on would-be customers.
And funnily enough about Brexit, I had a guy on LinkedIn, I don't know why, contacting me saying, "Hi, I'm at the head of digital infrastructure of the Conservative Party of the United Kingdom. We would like to do advertising with Google. Could you help me with that?"
That's awesome.
I didn't answer. Like,
awesome. That's so.
You're telling an Italian that lives in London that you want to advertise on Brexit, and
so like promoting Brexit?
Yeah, exactly. Promoting like blocking free movement of of European people.
Right.
And you're asking a European guy to help you do that. I'm like, sure.
That's great. It's good because you're in a position. So same way that Trust and Safety was able to help repeal the 8th, you can have your own influence in a way, I'm guessing, right? Because you're the gatekeeper of what you're going to allow to advertise. So if they want to promote it,
not really. I wish I was that influential. I'm just one of the problems.
But in a way you are, because you said you can say no, which is important.
I didn't help them.
And what are the majority of Google is liberals.
It's pretty clear that Google is editorializing and picking winners and losers. For the most part, it's being done in the shadows. Isn't it time for them to come clean and be honest about what they may be doing to impact the election? As we continue to scour the raft of internal Google documents that were leaked to us, we discovered these internal communications. The post is titled, quote, "Please join us in asking Google to remove ads from Breitbart.com." It is dated March 23, 2017. Quote, "I'm sure most of you are aware of the extreme sexism that articles and comments on Breitbart disseminates. For this and many other reasons, my colleagues and I have drafted an internal letter to leadership asking them to end Google's business relationship with Breitbart. 1,186 Googlers have co-signed the letter." A Google insider gave us this document. Can you tell us what this document shows?
So what this document shows is that some employees within Google are getting together a petition so that Google will ban Breitbart News from their ad networks in order to cut them off from the revenue stream.
So the document says that there are 1,186 Googlers co-signing on to this letter to, quote, "end Google's business relationship with Breitbart and enforce the AdSense policies on prohibited content." 1,186. I mean, who are all these people?
These people are employees of Google, and they are unhappy with the election, and they're unhappy with the narratives that are being put out there that contradict the mainstream media's narrative.
Okay, here's another document that a Google insider gave to us. This one's about also Breitbart and Google ads, holding the nose, looking through hate speech. Tell me what I'm looking at here.
What you're looking at is you're looking at Google intolerance. And what's really ironic here is that Google prides itself on inclusion and diversity. But what you see right here is actually an intolerance to inclusion and an intolerance to diversity. You know, they're looking at this at Breitbart and they're saying anyone who wants to hold their nose and look to Breitbart for hate speech, right? They are inducing political action through their employees to express their intolerance to any sort of dissenting opinion.
This is important because Google claims protection under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Basically, they say they are impartial publishers of content and therefore not liable for any content they publish. But this document shows they are anything but impartial. All right, I'm going to look at another document that a Google insider gave to us. This one's entitled, quote, "It's time to remove Breitbart from AdSense." Tell me about what I'm looking at with this one.
So what you're seeing right here is you're seeing a document that is the actual petition to remove the Breitbart media group from their monetary stream through Google's AdSense.
We reached out to Breitbart, who had published a similar story in December of last year, but they were surprised by these documents, saying they showed a wider plot within Google to target them. Breitbart's comment: "This is more confirmation that Google is staffed by many left-wing activists with a totalitarian, un-American desire to silence, defund, and deplatform those with whom they politically disagree, or even make them feel the slightest bit uncomfortable. This is all about 2020. So it seems like this is something, these 1,186 people petitioning and all this stuff is stuff that didn't actually happen. But what does it tell us about Google or the culture at Google?
Well, this petition reflects the culture that Google has fostered, which has been hostile to real diversity and hostile to real inclusion, because what they're trying to create is a monoculture. And what you see with this document is a manifestation of that intolerance towards dissenting opinion.
Project Veritas has been invited to the White House Thursday of this week on the heels of this historic Google expose featuring a lot of your insider testimony.
He was initially cited for allegedly taking unauthorized photographs
to the president on your behalf.
The message that I would give to Donald Trump is that these tech companies are dangerous, and also they may be selling our data to foreign intelligence services. This is something that needs to be asked to Google, is whether, like Facebook, they're selling our data to people that don't have America's best interest in mind. The second thing that I would say to Donald Trump is we don't need any more existing laws to fix this problem. We just need to enforce the laws that are currently on the books, especially Section 230.
You have previously given testimony to the Congress saying that there is not editorial manipulation that disadvantages conservatives. And just like in the case of Google, there have been whistleblowers from Facebook that not only have offered evidence indicating your testimony was not truthful, but there's even video that suggests that content moderators that you employ
bring the game to it could work on the left side.
I'm wondering if you are familiar with the experiences of Zach McElroy.
The truth is more powerful than any NDA.
And Ryan Hartwig.
Or seeing them interfering on a global level in elections.
Two people who participated in Facebook content review. And what is your response?
As I've said, we aim to be a platform for all ideas. We got into this because we want to give everyone a voice.
Facebook shadow bans.
Yeah.
Facebook's notorious for it, and they say they don't, but it's clear that people's content don't comes up because it's been defiltered off the queue.
I certainly do not want our platforms to be run in a way that has any ideological bias.
I saw a stark contrast between Republicans versus Democrats in that queue. I saw upwards of 75 to 80% of the posts in that queue were from Republican pages, politicians, journalists, and pages that supported the president or supported conservatives.
I think both in the case of these content moderators and in the case of the testimony you just gave regarding Mr. Lucky and firing people over their politics, there is serious question as to whether or not you're giving truthful testimony here or whether it's lying before Congress.
Of course, they're not giving truthful content to Congress. And really, I thought they were supposed to be in front of Congress once again last Friday, unless it's been moved. I know there's been a lot more going on, and James is not done yet. He has exposed more voter fraud. Once again, this man has contacted some people that have done extraordinary work, put their careers on the line, and because these people can be vicious, even if they don't even know them. This is the way the left operates, and it's very sad that it does. Let me see. Let me make sure I got the right one. Yep.
We have Raquel on tape coercing voters to vote the right way, as well as bribing these voters with gifts.
Now, you know, on here, you chose a Republican, not a Democrat, right? Can I do that? You can vote for whoever you want, but our conversation that we had, you said you were voting for a hater because you were going straight Democrat. So that way you're voting for the straight Dem. Is that what you want to do, correct? Can I do it like that? Well, I didn't want it all Democrat. Let me just show you. So you're gonna dot that in, and the line goes like this, and then your initials are gonna put right there. So that way they know it was done accidental. She didn't vote for who we wanted her to vote for. That right there is against the law for me to tell her, like, you realize you voted for. You can't really. You're not supposed to say nothing. Look at the shawl. My shawl. Oh, what's this? And she's gonna say, man, Motto sent me this badass shawl. You know what? Yeah. I couldn't vote for him, but you're in his area, you vote for him. Yeah. This is what you call flipping people. Flipping people. What I do, picking up the balance when he was with me, that's illegal. I could go to jail. So I'm a little apprehensive to tell somebody, you know what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying? And again, once he works with me once, he's gonna say I guess Trump was right. I'm sorry. About doing shit illegal? I'm sorry? About doing stuff illegal? Yeah. They all said he was full of shit. Oh, hell no, he's not. It's true. Yeah. Because you're not supposed to do that. If I have a bunch of them, I'll take 20 here, 30 here, 40 here. Mix it up, not the same post office. Of course not. Yeah. So because I told her to vote for Hager, so I'm going to take a picture of her, take a picture of the ballot where it says them two on there, take a picture of you in the background so they know that you are freaking there, take a picture of us all together, and then I'm going to send it to you, and you do not let anybody else know this is what I'm doing, because if I go to prison, I do not look cute in stripes, and I will hate you forever.
What's she going to do, send a Christmas card? Yes, the president was very right, because voter fraud is massive, of course. You know, it's got to be stopped. It's something's got to be
James
done.
O'Keefe with Project Veritas.
Hold on a second. Project Veritas eventually caught up with this lady. Now, I'm seeing these for the first time as well. I haven't had a chance to really look at anything today. Thank you very much.
How are you doing? This is James O'Keefe with Project.
I thought I shortened that. Thank you very much.
Raquel Rodriguez, how are you doing? This is James O'Keefe with Project Veritas. We have you on tape admitting to coercing voters and bribing voters with gifts. This is you on video telling someone who to vote for, which is a violation of federal law and state law.
Now, you know, on here, you chose a Republican, not a Democrat, right? Can I do that? You can vote for whoever you want, but our conversation that we had, you said you were voting for a hater because you were going straight Democrat. So that way you were voting for the straight Dem. Is that what you want to do, correct? And she was like, well, yeah, you know what, you're right.
And then she changed, she was clearly voting for John Cornyn.
Do you think it's okay to change people's votes for them like you did with Ms. Do you think that's acceptable?
I refuse to talk to you right now.
You're on tape doing it. Do you not see that? Look at this.
That's not me.
To say, so no.
Okay, but you actually did that.
I'm done. I'm leaving.
Well, we're going to leave with you if you're going to leave. Because you bragged.
I don't want to talk.
You bragged that you and your partner go into polling booths with voters and sign an affidavit that you can enforce. Do you think that's legal?
That's a lie. You're lying. I want the biggest candidate. Everybody's mad.
Which one's that?
Model. I got the millionaire. A millionaire that's like, go do whatever you need to do. Here's all my credit cards. I don't take advantage of him. I tell everybody, I don't work for man, I work for God. And he knows what I need.
How many times have you done this before? That's not a joke, ma'am. You're on tape and you've broken the law.
I didn't break any law.
How many times have you done this in the past?
Never.
I love your Michael Kors mask. Okay. She was a little shocked, I would say. Very shocked. On to the next one.
No, nothing to see here. I don't care which party you work for. It is wrong. They know it. They shouldn't do it. Some do it anyway. And I hope every damn one of them goes to prison because this screws up our entire system. This is not what it's about. It's not about cheating. It's about being honest. Again, I don't care which party you're with. Doesn't matter.
And just a couple.
I think there might be a follow-up. Let me see about this one.
Undercover video, allegations of an election fraud scheme right here in Bexar County. And just a couple of hours ago, the Texas Attorney General confirmed that he is investigating. Our Yami Virgen sorts through the allegations released just today.
Project Veritas, with a checkered history that was recently accused of engaging in a coordinated disinformation effort, released the video today. A political consultant in town allegedly talking an elderly woman into changing her mail-in vote.
You saw how it works.
Yeah.
It's not being persuasive. Yeah, I guess it is being persuasive. That right there is against the law for me to tell her, like, you realize you voted for. You're not supposed to say nothing.
Project Veritas released the video. It shows political consultant Raquel Rodriguez claiming she can bring candidates thousands of votes. Project Veritas says she gave a gift, a shawl, to this woman and helps her change a vote from one candidate to another. Today, Rodriguez tells us the woman Project Veritas secretly recorded her working with on that ballot is her tia, her aunt. In her statement, she also says, well, I made false statements to the operatives in order to confirm my suspicions and further my own investigation. I did nothing illegal or unethical as implied by their edited video.
Why is it being released 7 days before the election? How long have you been working on this?
We have to release our stories now because we're running out of time before the election day. And these sorts of voter fraud situations could sway the election here in Texas. It's very significant, the number of ballots that are being harvested.
Texas AG Ken Paxton sent us this statement. What's shown in the video is shocking and should alarm all Texans who care about election integrity. As we mentioned in the expose, Rodriguez names names and describes what she allegedly does for them. We're reaching out to those local candidates now to see what they have to say about that report. I'll be back as more unravels in this investigation. Yami Virgen, News 4 San Antonio.
Do you have any cover video?
So there you go on Project Veritas. I mean, there's so much. This guy, he's just busting things out like gangbusters. He is finding good operatives that, again, do the dirty. I mean, it's dirty work, but it's work that needs to be done to expose these cretins. God, I have so much here. I think one of the most important thing going on right now is the election, and of course, Obamagate. It is so explosive that I don't even know where to begin. It's crazy. But I have one more story from the big tech that I didn't get to yet. A former Venezuelan government operative works for Facebook. Oh, imagine that. One of the key narratives for the Democratic and corporate media after the 2016 election as that Russia interference, and particularly through the seeding of misinformation and propaganda on Facebook, had been critical factor for President Trump's victory. But what about Facebook's own foreign employee, who has far more influence in the company than any outside force the media has paid since attention to them? In an interview with Deleted, Big Tech battled for the erase of Trump's movement and steal the election. Facebook source told me that many foreign workers at Facebook see the opportunity to influence U.S. elections. Quote from Facebook Insider. In the inquiry kickoff meeting shortly after the elections, employee fantasized about how they could improve elections here and abroad. Many non-citizen tech workers were upset that they could not vote in the U.S. elections when they saw the results. Some saw Facebook elections efforts as a gateway to interference to vote without needing to vote. Facebook is fighting foreign influence within its own foreign influence. I don't care how big a company is, they always can fall. Look at Enron, how huge that was. Look how the money fell. And they paid dearly for that. These big tech companies, Facebook, Twitter, and Google, can face the same fate. Had the corporate media paid more attention to the problem, they might have discovered that Martin Sanchez, sorry if I mispronounce, who has spent 7 years working for officials for the government of Venezuela, and also co-founder of the website to promote the ideas of socialist former leader Hugo Chavez, is currently employed at the company, the Consul General of Venezuela in Chicago and San Francisco. Sanchez spent years working to advise the ideas of Bolshevism, socialism, the ideology that has been woolly and odd with the United States for decades. Now Sanchez is working at Facebook, a company that has the power to influence elections all around the world. That is big time. I wonder if AG Barr knows. After working at Microsoft-owned Lycan for over 3 years, Sanchez took a job at Facebook in 2018, which now holds over 2 years. His Lycan profile describes the role of followers led UI at the Fed and Stories content classification team. I worked with a data scientist to build cutting-edge machine learning and visualizing tool to improve Facebook content classification. In other words, Sanchez, a Venezuelan socialist, is training the algorithms to help automatically classify your content when you post it on Facebook. Details on Sanchez's history with the international communist movement and the Venezuelan regime was provided by Breitbart. News by Ariel Sheen. A a doctoral student at University of Bush. Well, I ain't even gonna worry about pronouncing that. Colombia, whose research in Venezuela impacted the American democracy and elections that funded by Social Science Research Council. That is interesting news. I just now found this. This is brand new. That at least to me, this article was actually from October, actually, yeah. October 27th, which was today. And that's big news. You know, now that we know socialists are actually working from Venezuela in our big tech companies, and who knows how many others, and they have Chinese influence, what else do we do not know? I think these companies really need to be investigated very, very thoroughly, especially with the influence of elections, present and future. We're already, obviously, I just told you about Facebook and other tech companies in elections, but what about the future elections? They could be even worse in another 4 years, because tech is so developing so quickly. In other news, I know this is a little bit outdated. This is from October, but I have actually a real good feeling about New York when it comes to the elections. I got a real good feeling. As of yesterday, there was a tweet where they had the mural Black Lives Matter in front of Trump Tower. Somebody poured a whole bunch of tar on it. Good for them. Give them a hand. But, you know, you see right now, you've been seeing a lot of Trump flags, a lot of spirit on the Brooklyn Bridge and in Broadway itself. Broadway is basically a ghost town because of de Blasio. Excuse me. And you have wonderful scenes of this.
Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! Who's back to blue? We got the shit at the same door!
We got ya!
God bless the
NYPD. We got you, buddy. We
NYPD.
got you. Yes. God bless you.
Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
Who's got back to blue?
Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
So I'm walking down Fifth Avenue, and a giant flag popped up. Trump supporters started at Trump Tower. We're down by 47th Street. I guess we're going down to 42nd at least. Police have been nice to us. Is that the plan, Times Square? I mean, we're right here.
It's a good feeling in New York.
Most of the people. Most of the people are for us. Oh, this is fucking great, isn't it? Man, is this the fucking best thing you ever seen? Awesome, man. That's me. That's me, buddy. This is the fucking best thing. What's the plan? Where we going? Times Square?
We go till they tell us to stop? Oh, whatever. If we go down Times Square, we're gonna make a right on 42nd.
That's what I mean. That's the way to go, I think.
Where's Times Square?
Who's that? Who's that, man, motherfucker?
Trump 2020, motherfucker.
Say it like you mean it.
Whose streets, Lexi?
Whose streets?
Our streets, Lexi. Tell them, whose streets? Our streets.
Nina! You having fun? Are you having fun?
He says New Yorkers don't love
Our
Trump.
streets, motherfucker, taking them back.
Hey, you want to
Trump
take it?
2020. No more years! No more years! No more years!
you liked that. I hope you enjoyed that. We need a little encouragement, especially in New York, with de Blasio and Cuomo. They're a bunch of hypocrites and real cretins. They got problems of their own when it comes to Barr. They're going to come into a world of hurt. It will. I think Phil is wrong. Sorry, Phil. You know, and on Promises Kept, we made a little wager between all of us, so it's got to go red. Let's see. I'm not going to play that one just yet. Okay, here's some good stuff. Here's a little Hannity. At least I can't get in trouble with that. Hopefully not.
A Biden ad is running in Michigan actually featured a purported bar owner struggling in Ann Arbor to keep his business afloat during the pandemic. Well, as it turns out, that struggling bar owner was actually a wealthy millionaire tech investor who supported Governor Whitmer's insane stay-at-home order that, in fact, contributed to Michigan's restaurant and bar industry being destroyed. So what does it mean for the polls of Michigan? Joining us now is one of the only pollsters in the country that accurately predicted the 2016 election, that Donald Trump would win Michigan, that he would win Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. He is the chief pollster for the Trafalgar Group. His name is Robert Cahaly is with us. Robert, good to see you. All right, I'm looking at your polls. You predicted it would be as close as it was in 2016. You predicted it accurately. I've got you right now, Wisconsin, 1 point lead for Biden. Michigan, 1 point lead for Trump. Florida, Trump up by 2.
With all due respect, he's wrong because Trump is up in all these states.
Pennsylvania, Biden up by 1. Arizona, Trump up by 4. Ohio, Trump up by 4. We've got North Carolina, the president up by 1.5 points. Minnesota is a dead heat. It's dead even. And the president winning Georgia, which other pollsters do not have. What are you seeing that other pollsters are not seeing?
Now, I heard that Georgia is also key with Pennsylvania. If he can't win Georgia, he's got to find another route to the path of victory, which should not be hard at all. He's going to win Georgia anyway.
Thank you, Sean. What we've noticed is that these polls are predominantly missing the hidden Trump vote, that what referred to as the shy Trump voter. There is a clear feeling among conservatives and people that are for the president that they're not interested in sharing their opinions so readily on the telephone. We've seen people be
damn them. All right, let me see if I can get it back for you. Ah, shit. Okay, let's see. There it is.
Who supported Governor
referred to as the shy Trump voter. There is a clear feeling among conservatives and people that are for the president that they're not interested in sharing their opinions so readily on the telephone. We've seen people be beat up, harassed, doxxed, have their houses torn up because they express political opinions that are not in line with the politically correct establishment. And so
I have to admit I'm wrong in New Hampshire, and I did put it blue.
These people are a lot less hesitant, are more hesitant to not participate in polls. So if you're not compensating for this, if you're not trying to give them a poll that they can participate in with a lower threshold that would make them feel more comfortable that it's anonymous, you're not going to get honest answers.
All right, so there is this reluctance and resistance. There's been hostility. People that wear a MAGA hat, for crying out loud, they're open to attacks, and people are afraid to even put up lawn signs, for example. And we hear example after example.
Not me. I wear mine with pride.
This would tell me that this is a very close race. We're 2 weeks out. We now have unfolding events. We have one more debate on Thursday night. Certainly, this ever-growing scandal might play an impact, or will it not? What are your thoughts? If it could be shown that Joe Biden lied when he said he didn't know about Hunter Biden making millions from Russia and Kazakhstan and Ukraine and China and elsewhere, would that have an impact in your mind on the race?
It certainly could. Right now it's been subjugated mainly to conservative media, and it's creating its own scandal in the way that the online providers and the mainstream media are acting like it didn't exist. It's not happening. So it's kind of two scandals in one. I think people are seeing a level of corruption and just being hidden, and it's not something anybody's really ever experienced before. I think if the president uses it effectively in the debate when a more bipartisan audience is paying attention and put him on the spot, I think Biden might crack kind of like he did in the primaries. And if that happens, well, then the mainstream media is going to have to cover it.
You see that there is this intensity in terms of voting, early voting in a lot of states right now. I don't see a lot of passion for Joe Biden. I see a lot of passion for Donald Trump. And then you've got a lot of Trump haters out there. By the way, you mentioned big tech companies. I put them as part of the group. I put the media as another part of the group. I put everybody in the Democratic establishment and Rhino Republicans in that group. So how do we read all this early voting and the change in voting laws that has been literally happening in the last 100 days?
Well, it is very confusing, and as you can see, we're having, court decisions. I mean, I did an interview with the National Review this weekend, and I was warning about corruption in Pennsylvania, and then you have the court ruling on Monday. These guys have brought this kind of vote stealing to an art in parts of Pennsylvania, and it is a great concern. But right now, what we see is the people that are going to vote on Election Day seem to be predominantly for the president, and we've been doing a lot of digging around with looking at these low propensity voters, and they are clearly in favor of Trump, and these are people that only voted once or twice in the last 20 years, and we see a strong enthusiasm for them to turn out, and they're not being measured.
All right, let me ask you, so I started in radio, I don't want to give my age away because I'm so youthful, in 1987. I'm now in my 25th year here at Fox, Robert, and so Joe Biden is in hiding in his basement half the month of September, almost the entire summer. Now here we are, 14 days to go. Joe Biden was off Saturday. Joe Biden did one event on Sunday. He's off yesterday, today, tomorrow, and most of the day on Thursday until the debate. I don't know, you obviously love politics and you're a keen observer of presidential politics. Have you ever seen anything like it? And do you agree with me that some sort of calculation had to be made by the Biden campaign that they're better off keeping him away from campaigning than going out and asking people for votes? I've never seen anything like it in my life. Your thoughts?
I got to agree. It doesn't seem like an accident. It wasn't so long ago that Hillary Clinton talked about the 3 a.m. phone call. I'm beginning to wonder whether a noon phone call is a problem here.
All right, well said. If you have to make a final prediction, and I put you on the spot, which is really mean, but I am a talk show host, it's my job. How do you predict this race goes, and when will we know based on the, if your mail-in ballot has a postmark, we'll count it 10 days after in some states?
I've said for a while, I think I see the president winning with a minimum of high 270s and possibly going up significantly higher based on just how big this undercurrent is. And as far as when we know, that's something I'm not going to even try to predict.
Okay, well, a lot on the line. Did you notice in 538, this is Nate Silver, which the liberal media seems to view as the holy grail, that they're showing a dramatic and significant increase in the number of African Americans and Hispanic Americans supporting the president. Do you see that translating into new votes for the president?
Absolutely. Across the battleground states that we're polling, we see a significant number. We see in the high to mid-teens for Trump among the African-American vote, and we see Biden not getting anywhere near the 80% he needs. We see Hispanics north of 35% and even above 50 in some states like Florida and Arizona.
All right, Robert, thank you. We'll be watching closely 2 weeks from tonight.
And I think that's being too generous because I don't think he's got that much.
Okay, so let's get very...
There was a clip that caught my eye that I would really like to see. Let me go back, and I have not watched it, but it seems significant. Let me see here if I can find it. Okay. Let me find it really quick.
During the pandemic, well,
if I can, I don't know if it'll come back up. Yeah, it's not going to come back up that I wanted to find. But in all fun, let's just play this.
The New York Post published one of the great scoops of the year.
Just for the hell of it.
The paper's editors got a copy of the hard drive from Hunter Biden's personal laptop. On it were tens of thousands of emails, videos, texts, and photographs. Much of the material on the laptop is of limited relevance to the public. Not everything a famous person does in the course of a day has news value. Some of the pictures in the laptop were sad and weird, of prurient interest only. We're not going to show the bad ones on this show. And by the way, if we're being honest, some of the exchanges between Hunter Biden and his father, and they're on there too, reveal that whatever you say about him, Joe Biden really loves his son, and they're touching. We want to be honest about that. But there's one very newsworthy series
that
of
I haven't
emails,
heard.
and they stuck out. They showed that as Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden tailored American foreign policy, our foreign policy, which Joe Biden does not own, in order to help his son's business interests. Biden intervened aggressively in the internal affairs of another sovereign nation, Ukraine, and his son got paid for that. By any measure, that is a real story. There's no spinning it. That's a story. But then, very quickly, something bigger than that happened, something far more dangerous to our country than anything the New York Post found on Hunter Biden's laptop. Here's what happened. The most powerful people in the world aligned to censor the news, to keep it from the population of the United States. Twitter prevented its users from sharing the story. So did Facebook. When Americans searched Google to read the New York Post story, many couldn't find it. So within hours, the promise of a free press, that's the basis of American democracy and has been for 250 years, just disappeared. 1 minute, we were America. The next minute, we were China. Horrifying. And perhaps most horrifying of all, our news media applauded it. The self-described guardians of the First Amendment cheered the destruction of the First Amendment. The New York Times actually ran an op-ed attacking the idea of free speech. Ideas that threaten the ruling class must be squelched, put down. That's their position. Every power center in America vehemently agreed with that. And most ominous of all, the U.S. intelligence community, the secretive federal agencies that have nearly unlimited power, joined in. Those agencies colluded with the news media to hide information from the American public weeks before a presidential election. On Saturday, USA Today kicked off the effort by publishing one of the most dishonest newspaper stories ever to run in this country. Federal authorities are investigating, the paper declared, whether the story about Hunter Biden's laptop was, quote, part of a smoke bomb of disinformation pushed by Russia. The Russians did it. That was the point of the piece. In fact, it was the only point of the piece. The newspaper never bothered to assess whether the core story was true. Are the facts right? And that used to be the very first and most important question in journalism. Is the allegation true? Everything else flows from that. But USA Today didn't even ask that question. Nor did the newspaper explain how this Russian plot...
And you got to applaud for the New York Post for doing what they're doing, because normally, with the way they've been acting the past 3 years, is disgraceful, as the president would say. You got to hand it to them. They really came through, finally.
might have worked in practical terms. The computer repair shop owner in Wilmington, for example, he must have been in on it. He had physical possession of the laptop. So was this seemingly mild-mannered Mac repairman yet another one of Vladimir Putin's hand-picked sleeper agents?
Ooh.
Had he been lying in wait in a Delaware strip mall for decades, preparing for just this moment? USA Today didn't tell us. They didn't need to tell us because the rest of the media understood instantly what to do. FBI probed if purported Hunter Biden emails are a Russian
Well, the left claims we're all Russian bots, really.
plot, declared Bloomberg News. PBS, which you pay for, it's publicly funded, cited a, quote, senior former intelligence official, whose salary you also paid, to claim that Rudy Giuliani was likely channeling Russian disinformation. So the former mayor of New York is working for Vladimir Putin, too. That's how vast this conspiracy was. Reporters in Washington and New York frantically called their many sources in the permanent national security state for more details. From his perch on Twitter, desiccated neocon ghoul David Frum cheered them on. Vast experience lying in the run-up to the Iraq War, he put those talents to use. In this frenzy to find this new batch of Russian spies, the media did miss a few obvious leads. For example, two people reporters forgot to call were Joe and Hunter Biden. Presumably the Bidens could have confirmed whether or not the famous laptop was real, and that would have ended the speculation. It would have informed the rest of us. But somehow no one thought to do that. Finally, last Friday night, one reporter, Bo Erickson of CBS, blurted out the question to Joe Biden himself. And here's what happened next.
I know you'd ask it. I have no response. It's another smear campaign. It's right up your alley. They're the questions you always ask.
Oh, it's a smear campaign right up your alley. I have no response, said Joe Biden. Biden didn't deny the story because he knows that laptop from the Delaware repair shop did in fact belong to his son, Hunter. And we know it too. We confirmed that conclusively last week. Everything we have learned since then, and there has been a lot that we've learned since then, bolsters that conclusion. The laptop in question belonged to our Hunter Biden, period. It is not a Russian fabrication. So Bo Erickson of CBS asked a legitimate question. And for that very reason, within minutes, Democratic operatives, including many in the media, landed on him. The point of attacking a man who appears to be a fairly liberal CBS reporter was to send a message to the rest of the press corps. Shut up and obey the narrative, or else. According to Greg Sargent of the Washington Post, quote, the real problem here is this is a useless question from a journalistic perspective. Large parts of the story are invented, unconfirmed, highly dubious. What is learned by placing the work of denying them on Biden, end quote. Notice Greg Sargent doesn't explain what parts are unconfirmed or false. No part of this story, no email has been shown to be false. They're not even claiming it's false. Doesn't matter. Another Democratic operative called John Favreau called the Washington Post, the New York Post story, Russian disinformation, and concluded Biden was too nice. Michael McFaul, he now works at Stanford, he used to work in the Obama administration for 5 years, attacked Bo Erickson for, quote, discussing...
Oh, let me guess. He's going to say it's real.
...disinformation. You're not even allowed to discuss it.
Of course. It's Obama
And the
administration,
actor of
right?
Alec Baldwin wrote this, quote, take the beat down, learn from it, and move on. What is this? It's happening in concert all at one time. What you're watching is the most powerful people in America aligning as one to hide legitimate information from the public. This is not the way our country used to operate. Are you terrified yet? You should be terrified because it worked. That's why they do it, because it works. Here are the questions reporters are asking Joe Biden now.
All right.
We got him. See, look.
Happy milkshake. We got one vanilla, one chocolate, but I wanted to get what we call black and white, but we're going to move it another way. We're going to.
Is that racist?
What flavor did you get? That was the question. This is a man who has relatively few opportunities to speak to the press, and when they get a chance, they ask, what flavor did you get? And if you don't want to end up like Bo Erickson of CBS, that's the kind of question you'd better ask the Democratic nominee for president with fewer than 2 weeks to go until Election Day. So after Joe Biden gave his answer, one vanilla, one chocolate, in case you missed the answer, another reporter had a follow-up. Listen to how that went.
I remember touching the FBI.
So the second the words FBI emerge, Joe Biden walks away. And yet that's not even the worst part of the clip you just saw. The worst part is the other journalists. They burst out laughing before they even hear the rest of the question. Asking about the FBI was unapproved. You can't talk about that, so the journalists laughed it down. That is state media protecting the powerful. No one thought to ask Biden why, if the laptop is a Russian invention, there's a letter from Hunter Biden's lawyer asking for the laptop back. Is he part of the conspiracy too? We don't know, and we're not going to learn, because Joe Biden has now gone into hiding until Thursday's debate. And that means the media can continue to collude unimpeded with our spy agencies to lie to you. It's the Russians, because Russia, and repeat after us as we say this until you reflexively believe it, because Russia is the greatest threat we face.
We've got a person named Donald Trump who has been warned that he is receiving and is now regurgitating, repeating, and disseminating disinformation that he knows to be fabricated and supplied by a foreign intelligence service. And despite the warning, he's still doing it.
You have said this entire thing is so obviously a Russian plot. It is to me, and I was never even an ambassador to the Russian Federation. Tell me why it's so obviously a Russian plot to you.
Rudy, basically functioning as a Russian asset by pushing Russian disinformation.
CNN reported on Friday that U.S. authorities are seeing if those emails we just talked about are connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
You know, at some point you got to be honest and say, who cares what's on Hunter Biden's laptop? What you just saw is the real threat. The powerful, the most powerful in our country colluding.
Becca, he is laughing at him. He is laughing hysterically. He's already been on like a few interviews, and he says this is totally ridiculous.
To dismiss legitimate questions using a fake threat of Russian disinformation. That's scary. Rest assured, though, unnamed U.S. authorities are on the case, getting to the bottom of this Russian plot. There's no evidence of wrongdoing, of course, but they're still on the case. Who are these authorities exactly, and who are they working for? Well, on Saturday, Senator Chris Murphy, a sitting senator from Connecticut, let us know.
They're working for fearless leader from Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's who they're working for.
He's a Democrat. He sits on the Foreign Intelligence Committee. Here's what he wrote, quote, Joe Biden and all of us should be furious that media outlets are spreading what is very likely Russian propaganda. I've seen the intel. The mainstreaming of misinformation is Russia's 2020 goal, end quote. That's worse than anything Joe McCarthy of Wisconsin ever said, and dumber. I've seen the intel. Notice that Senator Murphy of Connecticut didn't tell us what the so-called intel said, much less show it to the rest of us so we could evaluate it for ourselves. Powerful people have seen the intel. You haven't. You must take their word for it. Otherwise, maybe you're working for Vladimir Putin. Maybe you're a Russian spy. You want to get accused of that? Of treason? I don't think so.
Just ask Dianne Feinstein, the 25-year spy who worked for her.
So just take it on faith, pal. Adam Schiff is working that line for
From
years
China.
now. This week he was back at it.
Well, we know that this whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin. But clearly, the origins of this whole smear are from the Kremlin, and the president is only too happy to have Kremlin help in trying to amplify it. I think we know who the driving force behind this smear has been all along, and it's been the president and the Kremlin. He's been the gift that doesn't stop giving for the Kremlin. And this particular smear, though, has also been acknowledged to come from the Kremlin. And there it is in the Oval Office, another wonderful propaganda coup for
Even Wolf Blitzer ain't buying this bullshit.
Vladimir Putin, seeing the President of the United States holding up a newspaper promoting Kremlin propaganda. It's really incredible.
It's really incredible, says Adam Schiff. Hard to believe he's still on television. Well, it is incredible. In fact, it's so incredible, it's not even true. This morning, the person who was in charge of gathering intelligence in this country, in charge of all the intel agencies, conceded that, in fact, this hysteria is an utter crock. There is no evidence the Russians are putting stories in the New York Post. That is insane.
Let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that. And we have shared no intelligence with Chairman Schiff or any other member of Congress that Hunter Biden's laptop is part of some Russian disinformation campaign. It's simply not true.
They've been watching too many spy movies.
There's no intelligence that supports that. Yeah, okay. We're not in the intelligence community, so we can't verify that. We can't tell you there's no evidence that supports it. And evidence, actual evidence, is what the rest of us make decisions based on. And there's no evidence. And by the way, once again, no one in Joe Biden's campaign has said these emails or text messages are false. And if so, which ones are false? And how are they false? And they're not even claiming that. So these claims are coming from anonymous sources and media hacks, and that's it. On Sunday, a Biden campaign surrogate called Jenna Arnold acknowledged that on this channel. Watch this.
Can anyone say that these emails are inauthentic? And so far, I haven't heard anybody say that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think anybody's saying they are inauthentic.
I don't think anybody is saying they're inauthentic? Well, okay. Then why don't you respond to them? But in fact, many are saying they're inauthentic. False claims of Russian interference in our democracy are now a well-established fact of American political life. Like fears about climate change and white supremacy, they are very useful to the people in charge because those fears can be leveraged to strip you instantly of your constitutional rights. And that's exactly what's going on now. Now, you know why they're doing it. For the next 2 weeks, the point is to defeat Donald Trump, and they may succeed in doing that. But for the rest of us who plan to stay in this country, the real worry is what happens after that. Last week,
That's very true. What happens? Now, a lot of people have said that if Biden gets in, this is going to go away, and that is very true. Have a good night, David. Thanks for dropping in. So we cannot allow this to go away. Everybody must keep on it. We must not bend the knee. We got to keep pushing it. We can't let these pieces of shit go about saying nothing's wrong, nothing to see here, when we have an avalanche the size of Mount Everest of things that they've done wrong and others. And it sounds like, once again, Director Ray needs to go. That irritates me more that he sat on this shit for a year. That's unacceptable. He doesn't deserve that position. I had hope. I have hope no more for this man. He allowed the Russian hoax to go along. He allowed this laptop to sit on a desk in storage, and he knew about it and not do anything. That, to me, is plenty to fire somebody. And I'm kind of thinking it's coming. And it's going to come big time. We need to get this General Flynn case settled. We need to let him handle the job. General Flynn would be a great FBI director. He's a true patriot, and he deserves it. And God help them all. Before the debate there was a gentleman, his name was, excuse me if I mispronounce it, Belinsky, was, I believe, associate of Biter Huntons. He came forward with some phones. It had a lot of stuff on it. I have not got the full interview, but I will look for it. It is supposedly tonight that it happened. And this is just a sneak peek.
Okay, so I want to fast forward to 2017, early May 2017. And at this point, you've agreed to become part of this deal. Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, the vice president's brother, James Gilliar, and they're asking you to meet with the former vice president in Los Angeles. Describe the context, describe why they wanted you to meet with him.
Okay. Across those days in Los Angeles
Agreed.
in May of 2017 that you're referencing, I met with Hunter Biden multiple times at the Chateau Marmont and Rob Walker. And the discussion was they wanted me to sit down with their father just to meet him and at a high level discuss the Biden family and how they approach things.
Let me ask you to pause. Will you explain to us who Rob Walker is?
Yeah, Rob Walker was a partner in Rosemont Seneca and had a very close relationship with the Biden family and had developed and been working with James Gillier throughout 2015 and 2016 to develop this deal with the Chinese and CFC.
What was his relationship with the Biden family?
So my understanding is Rob had worked in prior administrations and had a very, very close relationship. In fact, in Rob Walker's own words, in an email to me, he states that everyone was contributing or telling me how they wanted to participate in Sinohawk. And in an email, he basically states, in his own words to me, I want to continue acting as a proxy for Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, and the Bidens around the world.
The Biden family.
The Biden family.
So they wanted you to meet with the former vice president in LA. How did
Yes,
that play out?
That's correct. The former vice president was flying in, and we were to meet at the Beverly Hilton. The Milken Conference was going on, obviously one of the top 3 conferences in the world for anybody that's a global investor or developing different humanitarian causes and a variety of things. And he was, Joe was flying in to speak about the pandemic stuff he was working on, and Hunter and everyone was in town, and they wanted to coordinate me meeting with Joe. And so it was set up for the night of May 2nd at the Beverly Hilton. I first met with Hunter Biden and Jim Biden, and just had a light discussion where they briefed me that, listen, my dad's on the way, and we won't go into too much detail on the business front, but we'll just spend time talking at a high level about you, your background, the Biden family, and then he's got to get some rest because he's speaking as at the conference in the morning.
So this was at night. The vice president, has just flown across the country. He's an older man. He's got work to do.
Correct.
But they carved out a piece of his schedule for you to meet with him. Why would they do that?
Because they were sort of wining and dining me and presenting the strength of the Biden family to get me more engaged and want to take on the CEO role and develop Sinohawk both in the United States and around the world in partnership with CEFC. And as you can imagine, I've been asked by 100 people over the last month, why would you be meeting with Joe Biden? And I sort of turned the question around to the people that asked me, why at 10:38 on the night of May 2nd would Joe Biden take time out of his schedule to sit down with me in a dark bar at the Beverly Hilton, sort of positioned behind a column so people couldn't see us, to have a discussion about his family and my family and business at a very high level where Jim Biden sat and Hunter Biden participated in. I'm irrelevant in this story. They weren't raising money from me. There was no other reason for me to be in that bar meeting Joe Biden than to discuss what I was doing with his family's name.
He was initially cited for allegedly taking unauthorized photographs.
And this is a company with direct connections to the Communist government of China. So the former vice president has said he had no knowledge whatsoever of his son's business dealings and was not involved in them at all. But this sounds like direct involvement in them.
Yeah, that's a blatant lie. When he states that, that is a blatant lie. Obviously, the world's aware that I attended the debate last Thursday, and in that debate, he made a specific statement around questions around this from the president. And I'll be honest with you, I almost stood up and screamed liar and walked out because I was shocked that after 4 days or 5 days that they prepped for this, that the Biden family is taking that position to the world. And once again, I'm irrelevant in this discussion. I just was brought in to run this company and have been exposed to all of this fact. And I believe the American people should see this fact. I would have much preferred the Biden family go on record and define these facts for the American people and the globe versus me sitting here having a discussion with you on it.
So Joe Biden has not denied meeting with you in Los Angeles, correct?
Correct.
Tell us about the conversation that you had with him.
So I initially was sitting, because I got there a little earlier, was sitting with Jim Biden and Hunter Biden, and Joe came through the lobby with his security, and Hunter basically said, hey, give me a second, I'll go over and give me 10 minutes to brief my dad and read him in on things. And so then Hunter and his father and security came through the bar, and obviously I stood up out of respect to shake his hand, and Hunter introduced me as, this is Tony, Dad, the individual I told you about that's helping us with the business that we're working on and the Chinese.
So it was clear to you that Joe Biden's son had told him about this business deal.
Crystal clear.
Crystal clear. Tell us about the conversation that subsequently occurred between you and Joe Biden.
So the conversation, as you're well aware, Tucker, I grew up the son of a career naval officer, so the President of the United States was always the commander-in-chief, whether they were a Democrat or Republican or other. And so I had the highest respect for Joe and the office that he had held. And so I stood up and shook his hand, and obviously we sat down and I think ordered some drinks. I think Jim Biden was hungry and might have ordered some food. And Joe asked me to talk about my background, my family. He thanked me for my service. I'm obviously very proud of that. Proud of my brother's service and my grandfather's service. And then he walked through sort of his family, obviously some of the tragedies they've dealt with, his political career, and a high level. We didn't go into too much detail on business because prior to Joe showing up, Hunter and Jim had coached me. Listen, we won't go into too much detail here. This is just a high level discussion and meeting. So it's not like I was drilling down with Joe about cap tables and details.
So you said that they wanted you to meet Joe Biden as a way to induce you to participate in this deal. You were the actual business guy here who had management experience, deal experience. But it also sounds like Joe Biden was vetting you to some extent.
Yes, of course. I didn't request to meet with Joe. They requested that I meet with Joe. And, he's putting his, and Hunter says this in writing, it was referenced multiple times, they were putting their entire family legacy on the line. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were dealing with a Chinese-owned, enterprise run by Chairman Yi, CFC, that had strong financial support and political support from the Chinese Communist Party. That's how it was presented to me. That's not my own words. That's how they presented it to me and read me in on it. And
they being Gillier and Hunter Biden.
They being Hunter Biden, who was very proud of that and taking credit for it when I sat with him for 2 hours on the patio of the Chateau Marmont in L.A.
Proud that they were doing a deal with the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, proud that that he had the relationship with Chairman Yi, who was running CFC, and the ability for them to get deals done around the world and stuff like that.
You've seen a number of journalists, reporters covering the story, including some who should know better, declare triumphantly that no document you've released connects the former vice president to this deal. How do you react to that? What's your answer to it?
So you can imagine what I've been through over the last couple months, and knowing all this to be fact, and watching Joe Biden and his family and their lawyers trout around the world stating that there was no involvement, or even at the debate, Joe Biden referenced that you've seen my tax returns and there's no money from foreign, enterprise in that. I want to simplify this for the American people as much as I can. On May 13th, that email was sent from James Gillier to me. I didn't generate that email. James Gillier generated that email. And
this is kind of evidence that may come out later. Remember, there is lots and huge loads of emails, tape, photographs still to be analyzed. So his claim still may come out.
In that email, James Gillier goes through intimate detail of what each individual's requests were from a compensation perspective and how the equity in the enterprise would be divvied up. Very important. May 13th, that email was generated by somebody else to me. In that email, there's a statement where they go through the equity. Jim Biden's referenced as 10%, doesn't say Biden, it says Jim. and then it has 10% for the big guy held by H. I 1,000% sit here and know that the big guy is referencing Joe Biden. That's crystal clear to me because I lived it. I met with the former vice president in person multiple times, and I had been meeting and talking with Hunter Biden and Jim Biden and Rob Walker and James Gilliar. Where the media has tried to hide, and I personally feel it's disgusting, is between that May 13th email and the final document that was executed called Oneida Holdings LLC. In Oneida Holdings LLC, the equity is broken up 20% Hunter Biden, 20% Jim Biden. Well, there are LLCs that represented them.
Right.
20% James Gilliar, 20% Rob Walker, and 20% me and my investment entity. What I'd ask the American people to read and look at is how from May 13th to the final Oneida document that got executed did Jim Biden go from a 10% owner to a 20% owner?
Well, Joe Biden's brother has got his home raided by the FBI, so things still could develop as well. There's probably more that he's not even aware of.
That's not my question to answer. I'm sure there were discussions within the Biden family. I wasn't privy to that discussion. But this is Jim Biden, the brother of the potential future president of the United States. It's not a distant cousin. It's not an employee. It's his brother who, in documents, defines himself as a political advisor to his brother. And so I'll leave that to the American people to answer that. But I don't understand how the American journalist is allowing that gap to be even talked about and defined.
So, and I should say, and I want to put the document on the screen, in his pitch to the Chinese, in his bio, Jim Biden describes himself as an advisor, a current advisor to his brother. So was it clear to you from the beginning that what Jim Biden was bringing to this deal was his relationship with Joe Biden?
Yeah, 1,000%, crystal clear. After I met with Joe Biden the morning of May 3rd at the Milken conference, and then was taken backstage after Joe had spoken, you know, we joked around for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I walked him out to his car. I think he was, I think they referenced he was off to see the lieutenant governor.
This is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, yes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went over to the Peninsula Hotel and I sat with Jim Biden for 2 hours, where Jim Biden walked through his history and his own words, stating all the work and effort he did to get Joe Biden elected initially in Delaware, and then through the family history and the role that he had played in it. And in that meeting, remember, I'm the son of a naval officer. I'm a naval officer, was a naval officer myself. And because I held a Q clearance, which is the equivalent of a top secret clearance, we're audited every year. So if you receive a gift, I think the barrier was $25. Anything larger than $25, we had to disclose it to the government, because obviously anybody with the clearance, the government is watching closely that they're not influenced by the Russians, the Iranians, the Chinese, and stuff like that. So as I was listening to Jim walk through this, I have a big heart. If you talk to anybody who knows me, they would weigh in on that. I'm a kind person, and I'm thinking about the Biden family. Like, how are they doing this? I know Joe decided not to run in 2016, but what if he ran in the future? Aren't they taking political risk or headline risk? And I remember looking at Jim Biden and saying, how are you guys getting away with this? Like, aren't you concerned? And he looked at me and he laughed a little bit and said, plausible deniability.
He said that out loud?
Yes, he said it directly to me, one-on-one in a cabana at the Peninsula Hotel after about a hour and a half, 2-hour meeting, with me asking out of concern, how are you guys doing this? Aren't you concerned that you're going to put your brother's, future presidential campaign at risk? The Chinese, the stuff that you guys have been doing already in 2015 and 2016 around the world. And I just can almost picture his face where he sort of chuckles and says, plausible deniability.
So he said, this is a man who's been drafting off his brother's political career for almost 50 years. He said to your face, essentially, we're lying about it.
Anyone watching this interview can look up what plausible deniability means, and the definition is very distinct.
So that's a little bit of the interview.
If Donald Trump wins.
And let me see. There was another thing I wanted to show you that relates to this. In fact, I have a few things. Where is it? Hope I didn't lose it. Dang it. I may have lost it. It was great. Oh, wait. Here it is. Yep. There it is. Now, the good thing about Gab, and it's also on BitChute, and hopefully I won't get in trouble for it because they're cucks. But here is, well, you know what? I won't play it here. I could, but I will. Let me think. I will play it on this. It's much better.
Was doing was creating wealth for him and his family. And so it's very important right now that we look at this and get to the bottom of it before people go to the polls on November 3rd. People are already voting, and so it is a scandal of epic proportions, and it's time that we allow the American people to see the truth.
And Steve Bannon has been savage all over this. Be sure to watch Pandemic. It is the most intense, very informational show in the mornings, and we have learned a ton of stuff.
Welcome, War Room Pandemic. You're in the War Room live from the nation's capital. It is Wednesday, the 21st of October. Thank you, Vish. Producer Vish. 21st of October, year of our Lord 2020. Raheem Gassam, Jack Maxey, producer Vish, producer Dan, the entire team. Missing a couple of three people. This is our first year anniversary. Started War Room Impeachment 1 year ago. Today was the internal launch. We felt so comfortable. We went public, so we got a 2-day anniversary. Jason Miller.
Now I'm going to show you two
Greg
different
Mann,
episodes.
Steve Cortez. A lot of the War Room posse now at the campaign. Want to give a hat tip to the guys over there. Great job, particularly since I'm reading all these stories that you're stone cold broke. You need an advance on your paycheck. Big day. Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff. One of the great reasons we wanted to start that, Mark, was all over the show during the War Room impeachment days before we flipped to War Room Pandemic. It brings up a great point. It's all got to come out. You know, we are a big advocate of the book by the two PLA colonels that are now major generals on unrestricted warfare. And what is unrestricted warfare? It's economic warfare, it's kinetic warfare, but most importantly, it's information warfare, both cyber and propaganda and content. We're now in an information war with social media, mainstream media, and we're trying to pierce through that. We're going to pierce through that. We don't care if the topic is an ugly topic. If it's an ugly topic, we will handle it in a, our watchword here is always stay classy. And we're going to pound through that, but we're going to handle every aspect of this Biden situation. Joe Biden is running to be the chief magistrate of the United States, the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, and he's having an interview process. We're weighing and measuring the character of Joe Biden, the Biden family, all of it, since the Democratic Party hasn't done it, the mainstream media hasn't done it. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Also, Real America's Voice, the old America's Voice.news. It's 15 million downloads or views on his YouTube channel.
Island, there were some major problems.
But you need to weigh and measure what you're going to hear over the next 10 days, which is what Mark Meadows is talking about. Okay, I want to bring in Bernie Carrick now. We're going to get the mayor on at 10:15. He's going to give a couple segments. You're here for the entire time. Bernie, just your bona fides. You're I don't want to say a career cop or police officer. You've been in law enforcement for a long time.
For about 35 years.
About 35 years, including the military, private security, and then into the NYPD.
I started in the U.S. Army. I worked in private security for the royal family of Saudi Arabia for about 4 years. was a cop, a correction officer, a warden of a county jail. Went to the NYPD in '86. 1994, Rudy sent me to Rikers Island. There were some major problems there. I went as the chief of staff for the commissioner, and ironically, Steve, and you know how you know me pretty well. He sent me for 6 months, and I didn't leave.
6 years.
That's exactly right. It lasted 6 years.
He's actually
that's so Rudy.
Yeah.
Hey, where's Bernie? So are Rikers.
The chief that stood by Rudy during 9/11.
6 months didn't. And 6 years later, I was the commissioner actually for about 3 years before he appointed me New York City Police.
The way he comports himself, the issues regarding his drug use, his sexual depravity, all of this stuff, right? But that's not what this is about. This is about a family that is compromised, particularly in front of our enemies. As you look at this, and you've looked at this material, give us your first sense as a law enforcement official, not just the stuff we're going to get to that was turned over to authorities, but just the overall package of the hard drive when you see it, and you see the Chinese deals, you see the Ukraine. Put it in perspective from a national security and a security clearance point of view. Where do you think Biden and the Biden family stands?
So, I mean, this is, this runs the gamut of criminality. When you think of, first and foremost, Joe Biden said he's never spoken to his son about his business dealings. We now know that that was a lie, based on what we have found in the hard drive. When I think of Hunter Biden traveling with his father to a foreign country while his father's on a state visit, anybody that's been in this business as long as I have, you realize and you know that when there's travel like that, the second that Hunter Biden steps off that plane, there are CIA and OGA assets that are dispatched to surveil him, to follow him, to make sure he doesn't get
foreign intelligence.
Both ours and theirs. So
ours is there to babysit?
Ours is there to babysit. They don't want him to get kidnapped. They don't want him to get snatched up somewhere. They don't want extortion.
Hang on for a second. How does he explain to our audience, how does he get on the plane? The Secret Service has a pretty high standard. If you want to go on Air Force One or Air Force Two, ladies and gentlemen, you submit a week or so in advance. You're screened. They go through a whole background check, and you just don't wander onto the plane. And I've had a number of guys that are pretty prominent that they got to go back and ask a question or two, and sometimes, hey, maybe you'll sit in the back, maybe you'll take the backup plane, but it's just not like, hey, I'm going to ride with the president, I'm there.
There's another question: who dropped the ball? Why wasn't he asked these questions at all?
Process. How does Hunter Biden get through that process?
The only way he got through the process is the same way he got in and out of the military without a record, and that was his father. That's the only way. Because Secret Service would have never put a junkie on the plane.
Why do you call him a junkie?
Because that's what he is. I mean, look,
now, is that different than a drug addict? A guy that's...
Would that really matter who your dad is? You're a druggie. You're working for a foreign country. Money laundering. Perversion.
Look, because we're not trying to pick on him personally. Is it you're saying that from a law enforcement?
And Hunter ain't no better.
It's a deeper problem than just having an attraction to cocaine or crack cocaine.
Here's the thing. For many of the years I worked in drugs, I ran some of the most substantial drug investigations in New York history. I was assigned to the DEA task force for 4 years. I ran one of their largest investigations that led us into Guatemala, Costa Rica, Brazil, Ecuador, and Colombia. I know drugs, and I know addicts, and I know junkies. This guy is a functioning junkie. That's what he is. That's what he was. And I'm sure that's what he is today.
What does that mean?
Basically, he lives off of drugs. You've seen the stuff on the hard drive. There are probably a couple hundred photos of him sitting around smoking crack. Crack is one of the worst addictive drugs out there. I mean, it knocks you into super highs, super lows. And I say functioning because he could step off the crack pipe, get on a plane, go to China, have business meetings, work out these business functions where his father's getting a percentage or a cut of the pie, come back, and within 2 or 3 days after he gets back, he's completely stoned out of his mind again. That's pretty bad. Now, you take that and you put it in a national security perspective, really? I mean, the compromise possibilities, the vulnerability on the national security front is probably worse than anything I've ever seen. So you take all the stuff that we now know is in the emails, in the text messages, in the financial transactions, you take that and you put it in the hands of a junkie who is completely whacked out. There's two things. One, you have a national security perspective on him alone, but more importantly, this is the son of the Vice President of the United States who wants to be president. And think about 2016, where they wanted to crucify Donald Trump on a possible compromise position over the what do you call it? I'm going brain fog. The Steele dossier.
Yes.
Right? And that was all false.
Right.
It was a fraud.
And they took that for
it was a farce.
Start a whole investigation. Before we're going to take a commercial break, Mayor Giuliani is going to join us. We're going to get all back to this and Jack, I want to, when we come back later after the mayor, I want to talk about the difference between cocaine, crack, and get Bernie's perspective of, it's Hunter Biden gliding through.
Right.
You've got young black males put in jail forever, right? And you got Hunter Biden gliding through. It's a disgrace.
Totally.
To download the real America's Voice app.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Well, this is really a very, very sensitive one. There's a text message to his father in which he says the following, and he's discussing his sister-in-law, who for quite some time was his lover. And he says, she told my therapist that I was sexually inappropriate. This would be with a unnamed 14-year-old girl. When she says that I FaceTime naked with the unnamed 14-year-old girl, and the reason I can't have her out to see me is because I'll walk around naked smoking crack, talking tom girls on FaceTime. When she was pressed, she said that the unnamed 14-year-old girl never said anything like that, but the bottom line is that I created and caused a very unsafe environment for the kids. This is supported by numerous pictures of underage girls.
So, Mr. Mayor, that's dynamite stuff, and I've seen it.
I turned it over to the
You turned it over to the Delaware State Police, correct?
Yes, yesterday. Bernie Kerik and I turned it over to the Delaware State Police because we're very uncomfortable with this. So we're very uncomfortable with the fact that these underage girls were not protected.
Right there, you've got Rudy Giuliani, explosive last night, America's mayor, with Greg Kelly, who's Ray Kelly's kid. We got Bernie Kerik in studio. This is kind of all New York Day, right? The Hammers. I want to say something before I bring America's mayor in. You talk about and I've had the honor of knowing the mayor now for a number of years. I know Commissioner Kerik has known him for many decades. This is a man of incredible courage. He put away the 5 families. Yes. Broke the mafia in New York. He broke the mafia that ran Wall Street. After that, Mike Milken. He's been a crusader for justice. He's always stood up for the little guy. Now, I think, is going to be historically known when they look back over Giuliani of his biggest profile and courage. Because now, the entire apparatus is against him. The mainstream media, the financial aspects of Wall Street, the corporations. They just want Rudy to shut up and go away, right? Just shut up and go away. And he's not going away.
No.
This guy is not, he's
Nobody's
a bulldog.
going anywhere.
This is the closest guy I've ever seen to Churchill. He is relentless. And he's not going to back down. You can call him everything you want. You can take away all the business. You can attack him nonstop. He's Churchillian in that he is the great saying of Churchill. The most important characterization, the most important virtue is courage, because it's upon courage that all the other virtues rest. Now it's an honor to bring in on our anniversary show Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mayor, thank you very much for joining Bernie and I, Raheem and Jack in the War Room.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, sir. So Mayor,
Great show.
And thank you, sir. And look, your audience, this show is huge internationally and in China, all over the world, and you're a hero. Every day afterwards, they translate you in Mandarin. They put artwork up of you as a hero. You become a hero to the Chinese people that are fighting for their freedom. I want to put this in context before we get into the sordid details. You have worked on this now for a month or so since you've had this hard drive. The whole aspect of a Russian influence operation is collapsing now that you've got DNI, and you've got the chief of staff of the White House out there today saying, hey, this has got to be investigated, etc. Put in perspective, this is not, and this is what I want to make sure people understand, because we have a massive audience today that want to hear you and Bernie. This is not about Hunter Biden, right? There's 100%. Aspects of Hunter Biden's behavior. This is about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is running, and he's auditioning for, interviewing for, to be the chief magistrate of the United States, to be the commander-in-chief, and to be the president. Those three jobs in a combination, right? The leader of the free world, the head of the most powerful country on earth, in the history of the earth, at one of the most critical times in history, as it faces probably its most serious existential threat, the Chinese Communist Party, and enemies both foreign and domestic that are partnered with the Chinese Communist Party. Put in perspective this hard drive, because now we have 26,000 emails coming from another co-defendant that's coming out through Peter Schweitzer. We hear there's other hard drives, and maybe the psychiatrist that has been taken is coming out. You've got major financial newspapers coming out with other exposés about relationships they have with China.
Even Newsweek has covered this.
Before we get to the sordid details that came out last night on Greg Kelly's show, put us in perspective of what this says about a family and an individual that is compromised.
Well, it tells you that this family for 30 years has engaged in increasingly serious criminal activity. They began as kind of grifters in Delaware. When he became a senator, his brother set up as a lobbyist, and they were making little money selling out his office here and there. There were newspaper articles about it, warning people. Joe would say, I don't know what my family does. And he's a charming guy, and he's part of the club, and they let him get away with it. When he got to be vice president, they got into the big time. They became big-time, world-class criminals. And he has a setup, an operation, in which the family gets the money. And then Hunter has described this in a very, very important text. He describes it as, he gets the money, he pays a lot of the expenses for the family, and then he kicks back half to the big guy, to the pop. He calls him Pop in this case. Another situation, he calls him the big guy. And he explains to one of his relatives that this is the ongoing situation that's been going on for 30 years. So when you look at all that money that Hunter is getting, at least 50% of it is going to Joe, including when he was vice president, which is called bribery. Massive, major bribery. I don't know, could be the biggest one in American history when you count up the dollars. China, 30, 40 million. Now, worse than that is who he's doing business with. He is.
Well, it depends. We don't know what Hillary's been doing, right? Not yet.
Doing business with the only country in the world that can really challenge the United States, China. A country that wants to challenge the United States. A country that over the last 10 years, particularly since Obama, by the way, has become exceedingly aggressive. And it's kind of announced its desire to displace the United States. They have announced it. Meanwhile, Chinese very smart. The Chinese communists are very smart. They've been infiltrating. They infiltrate our corporations based on their desire for profit, and they've completely owned the Biden family. So back in 2015, Joe takes Hunter to China.
It might be sitting on a credit card or a table with a credit card with some mysteriously white powder. Who knows, right?
Joe is negotiating for the U.S. to try to protect us, to get them out of the islands they had militarized, that they have a co-claim with Japan.
Just a hunch.
To try to get them to reduce tariffs. And he brings Hunter. We don't know why he brings Hunter. Doesn't explain that to the public. Joe fails in his negotiations with the U.S. China increases the militarization of the islands. China increases the tariffs. Joe, as he always does, fails in his negotiations with China. I always attribute it to Joe's profound stupidity, which has existed since he was a kid and left in the third grade. He's dumb. There's a different reason for it. When Hunter comes home, 10 days later, a letter arrives. The letter is a $1 billion commitment to a completely phony private equity fund owned by Hunter Biden, the son, also the stepson of John Kerry, the Secretary of State. So China's getting two.
I think new releases came out that Joe gets 10% off the top.
For one, right? And the nephew of Whitey Bulger. Can you believe that? The nephew.
Whitey frickin' Bulger. Whitey Bulger, folks. The notorious mobster.
Of Whitey Bulger. China is going to put $1 billion into a private equity fund owned by a gangster's nephew and a son who, largely because of Joe Biden, is a seriously addicted crack addict. Of course not. They're buying Joe Biden and then put another $500 million in. So while Joe Biden is negotiating for us and supposed to be an independent arbiter fighting for the United States, his son, who can't get a job, is getting $1.5 billion commitment from the people he's negotiating against. Now that just isn't a conflict of interest. They bought the office of the vice president because you now can't tell me that Joe was blowing those negotiations accidentally, since he blew every single one of them. They paid for those results.
So Mayor, that's a pretty big charge. So I want to get to, you say they're compromised, these are financial deals. Hey, okay, we're gonna get to all that in your evidence. But so you are making a case of that. Peter Schweitzer comes up with all the emails that shows that they've been having access to the vice president since 2011. He's in charge of Pivot AG. Then had this massive joint venture over and above the private equity firm. Right? We got about a minute, and I want to tee up the next segment. With all of that, and you and Bernie Carrick are going through and you're looking at compromise and financial compromise, all of a sudden you come to some other material. I think one of the questions people have, what possesses Rudy?
Doesn't it?
Are you like Ahab in the white whale here? Are you so obsessed with Biden that you get into this other material? In a minute, because we just you got 1 minute just to tee up what possessed you guys in looking at the financial stuff to get into the thing that we're going to talk about the next segment, that what you delivered to Delaware, about the sexual inappropriate exploitation of young girls.
What made me do it? I just opened the photograph section.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was there. I had been told by some people that there were very, very pornographic things there, which I expected to see.
This part really makes me uncomfortable, so I'm going to skip it. It really creeps me out. So I'm going to skip to this part.
Applications. I don't care about that. This isn't about politics. It's not even about Hunter Biden. It's not. It's about. Well, I can't get into the specifics, but there's issues that.
I know there's some things that we need to talk about. It's hard to talk about, but I'd rather they explain it than I have to deal with it. It's something. Takes a strong stomach. If it must be talked about, it can, but I think we all know.
Have to be looked at, and it should be done by the
and
county immediately.
And every professional that looked at this said this immediately. Slam dunk. Not even a question. Got to go. Got to roll now.
You heard the DAs, what they said?
Okay, one last thing. This is the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is this QAnon thing that's been out there. how do those people, right? How do you sit here and have the FBI that's had this now for a year? How do you have the fact that Delaware, as soon as you went to Delaware, they didn't do exactly what you said should have been done in any type of normal legal, which, by the way, every person that came, or the former prosecutors that looked at said they got to go immediately. They said exactly what you said. The elephant in the room is, people say they're crazy, people say that, I'm just leaving that, put a pin in it, take that off. But when they look at the facts of this, how are they not, at least an aspect of their argument, at least appears directionally to be correct?
You know what?
This is what boggles my mind.
When I...
This is not, by the way, all the criminal stuff with China and is compromised national security, that is horrific and it had to be done and should have been done. But this is the jeopardy of a young person.
I'm going to tell you something. When Rudy and I were on the way to Delaware, we were in two vehicles. He was in his, I was in mine. I was making a number of calls, making sure that we were going to be received, making sure we could get in. And as I was talking to my contacts in the law enforcement community, you know what I was told? You're wasting your time. You know why you're wasting your time? You're going to go to the county and report it. They're going to give it to the Attorney General of the state of Delaware, and that Attorney General is an extremely close confidant of Joe Biden. And you know what I said? I don't give a damn about confidence. I don't give a damn about how close they are. I don't care about the politics. The bottom line is there is a child that we know 100% was in jeopardy, and it should have been reported a long time ago. Joe Biden knew it. He knew about it. He talked about it. He was told by other family members about it.
It was
Joe
his
Biden
family
should have
member.
acted. He wants to be the president of the United States, responsible for everybody's safety and security in this country. Well, he damn sure should have been taking care of this kid.
You're saying couldn't take care of a child and his family. How are you going to take care of the country?
Can't.
How are you going to be the father of the nation when you're that kind of father?
What's the Biden campaign's response? The Biden campaign, here's what's not going to work anymore. Not going to work. It's not a Russian intel. That's a complete fallacy. This is a hard drive. The hard drive from hell, and it is from hell. Okay? It's from hell because it's what your family has on there, sir. Your emails, your text messages, your photos, your sex tapes, your family. So it's the hard drive.
And this is the question to all the damn big tech and media. What would you do? Would you report somebody like this? If it was your family? I hope the hell so. So don't sit there and censor all of us for bringing it to people's attention. These kids need rescued. In fact, I read a tweet today, 43 kids were saved today. God bless them. But what about these kids? Just because they're a family of a vice president, they deserve the same treatment and they need to be saved. And hopefully the son of a bitches will be prosecuted. Just for that.
Drive from hell. And I think Jack Maxey's question and Bernie's is the relevant one. And Raheem, how are they going to respond to this? How is this going to be? The country needs to see this. This is now turning, and you already see they're peaking on their momentum. This is now a referendum on Joe Biden. That's why he's never going to stand on the stage on Thursday night. It's not going to happen. They're already cooking up an excuse right now, right? They're going to say, hey, they've gone full QAnon on us. They're now in crazy land, right? Conspiracy theories all over. And look, I'm the last QAnon thing, but hey, the elephant in the room is, boom, how do you justify this? Where's the FBI? Where local authority? Nobody. Everybody told me in the weekend they're going to have to move immediately just to check on the thing.
Where the hell was Secret Service? Why didn't anybody in the Secret Service save these kids?
Boom, didn't happen. You know, political football. AG steps in and goes, nope, I'm going to toss it to the FBI. Still nothing happens. So how are they responding? How are they going to respond?
Look, I've worked a couple of campaigns, and there has never been a case, never been a scenario where my first instinct has been pull the candidate off public appearances for 5 days. That has never I've never seen anything like that. So right there and then, you know, that's their first response. They know it's about to get a whole lot worse. And that's what, I mean, a lot of people in the live chat are saying, no, Biden can't pull out of the debate. It's too late for that. It's going to show up. Do not discount the unprecedented nature of pulling your candidate off the campaign trail for 5 days. They did a hyper tight, low.
Well, since this was aired, we already know what kind of a disaster he is. He's already been wandering back behind his wife while she's speaking, doesn't know where the hell he's at. Says incomplete sentences. They're very incoherent. You know. You have Obama, who is another joke, seemed to be pissed off. 40 people at a, whatever you want to call it. Joe can't get more than 12. He's probably either family or they're paid. So we're going to speed up to the next clip of Pandemic.
That's the Biden family. The director, Matthew Taylor, off of the information from Peter Schweitzer made by Glenn Beck and the Blaze guys, co-produced, I guess, with those guys, distributed. We premiered it 6-8 weeks ago. Had tremendous reviews. We wanted to get it back up this weekend. Given the information is out now, you guys did that off of imperfect information. Now that what you're seeing now, how would you take the film, not redo it, but how would you weaponize what you're seeing now?
Well, it's nice because, you know, Peter got, I think, 90% of the way there with his exceptional research. And what we have now is all of the connective tissue.
Just a little bit.
My life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
Okay, the director that is Riding the Dragon to New Wealth. That's the Biden.
I've actually considered playing that. I'd have to do it only on DLive and Twitch. And I'm still thinking about that. I'll let you know if I decide to do that for you.
Family, the director, Matthew Taylor, off of the information from Peter Schweitzer made by Glenn Beck and the Blaze guys, co-produced, I guess, with those guys, distributed. We premiered it 6-8 weeks ago. Had tremendous reviews. We wanted to get it back up this weekend. Given the information is out now, you guys did that off of imperfect information. Now that what you're seeing now, how would you take the film, not redo it, but how would you weaponize what you're seeing now?
Well, it's nice because, you know, Peter got, I think, 90% of the way there with his exceptional research. And what we have now is all of the connective tissue in the context, right? And the way the film works, essentially, is that you have to tell a story. You have tweets, you have campaign ads, you have debates, but no one's told the story in one place, and that's what we did. That's what Riding the Dragon is. It tells the story so everyone knows the characters, they know the deals, they know the pattern, and now this material here is making everything make sense. So we would know there was a deal made, but we didn't know exactly
People
how.
couldn't come into, like Glenn said, people don't know where the frame of reference is.
Exactly.
How do people get because it takes you under an hour to watch this, right? How long
Yes,
is it?
41 minutes.
41
Six
minutes.
separate parts on YouTube.
6 separate parts on YouTube,
Yeah.
and you just Google Riding the Dragon?
Riding the Dragon or BidenFilm.com. It is free. It is available, and it's all there.
You're what Trump calls hot right now. You're going to go over to Newsmax and do an interview. But before you go, you've been able to see some of the footage here on the hard drive. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being I can't get it out of my mind ever, 1 being snooze fest, about being horrific. 1 to 10 of the Hunter Biden footage. Where is it?
It's a 20. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. This is the worst stuff. This is the worst. I mean, you know, and I spent 15 years studying the Clintons. This is the worst, most despicable, disgusting, filthy, corrupt garbage I've ever seen in my entire life.
Matthew Taylor, who spent a decade of his life going after the Clintons and successfully took them down on November 8th of 2016, a real American hero. Matthew, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to Jack Posovic's going to fill in that seat here after we get it socially distanced and sprayed down.
It's sprayed down. All right, well, I better stop playing it before I get in trouble from the masters at Big Tech. You know, the overlords. Because they kind of make it feel like that, you know. So I'm gonna switcheroo to. There's just so much I'd like to show you, and it's incredible stuff. I'm going to show you this. I don't know what it is, but it looks good.
I get called.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, I know I'm pushing the envelope just a little bit, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I get calls from my father to tell me that the New York Times is calling, but my old partner Eric, who literally has done me harm for I don't know how long, is the one taking the calls because my father will not stop sending the calls to Eric. I have another New York Times reporter calling about my representation of the, literally, Dr. Patrick Coe, the fucking spy chief of China, who started the company that my partner, who was worth $323 billion, founded, and is now missing. The richest man in the world is missing, who was my partner. He was missing since I last saw him in his $58 million apartment and signed a $4 billion deal to build the fucking largest fucking LNG port in the world. And I am receiving calls from the Southern District of New York, from the U.S. Attorney himself. My best friend in business, Devin, has named me as a witness without telling me in a criminal case, and my father without telling me.
Yeah, I better lay off before my account disappears. That was Hunter Biden, in his own words. He's had dealings with the spy chief of China. Holy smokes. I mean, can you get more cloak and dagger? Seriously. Speaking of Daddy Dearest, Joe Biden calls Pennsylvania voters who don't support him chumps. Wow, win him over, Joe. What a charmer, aren't ya?
I'll work as hard for those who don't support me as those who do, including those chumps with the microphone out there. Look.
Where's your mask, Joe? Just saying. I always like to kind of like tease a little bit. There you go. At least we got that out. Everybody should know exactly. I'm not going to... That is the one I wanted before. Oh yes, a blast from the past. High heels, or heels up in the air, Camilla. Remember this goodie? Working girl makes good. Camilla Harris. Camilla Harris, mid-1990s, after the age of 29, married California politician Willie Brown. Then at age 60, a common knowledge. But Brown publicly subsidized payments to Harris has been largely ignored by the nation media. Quentin Cope, a retired judge and former state senator in San Francisco, published in San Francisco Richmond Review and neighborhood newspaper. Brown appointed 29-year-old Harris and put as a part-time $97,000 per year position in California's unemployment insurance appeals job, while being paid $100,000 per year a full-time county employee. Brown tongue-tied, appointed then 30-year-old Harris to a more than lucrative, also part-time California medical assistant commission after 98. She made $99,000 a year overseeing 15 staff members despite having no experience in the field. Imagine that. At the time, Brown also gave Harris a new BMW. Culp also suggests Harris got special treatment twice for violating political campaign ethics. In 2000, Harris was investigated by the San Francisco Ethics Commission when a paid campaign manager for the San Francisco supervisor's race. She failed to comply with notification deadlines for political meetings with no consequences. In 2003, Harris was charged with violating her promise to spend no more than $211,000 on her own district attorney campaign. But the Ethics Commission fined her more than $34,000 rather than the maximum penalty of $275,000, and choose not to disqualify her from the race as a law permitted. At the time, Harris called Brown an albatross hanging around her, an albatross hanging around her neck. In September 24, 2003, a San Francisco Weekly article entitled Camilla's Camilla added, wow, catchy title. They need to work on their titles though. Adding that his career is over. I will be alive and kicking after the next 40 years. I do not owe him a thing. In fact, I'm still kicking. Powerful. Brown was the wind beneath my wings of the highly ambitious, cantling woman. Her role model, Harris, late mother, Indian-born, supported her daughter's conventional public thrust with Brown. Controversial. Saying, why should she have gone out with Willie Brown? She's a player. And could Willie Brown accept from her in the future, or expect from her in the future? He was not much life life left, pardon me. It's worth mentioning that Harris also seemed to have suffered no political consequences. Taxpayers 2018 shelled out $400,000 and settle a harassment suit against top aide in her U.S. Senate office race. Oh, it's just office. Excuse me. Like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris has been feeding at the public through her entire career, but perhaps the smart career decision was to ride Willie Brown. As Coop says, pity the poor taxpayer. Little history on Heels Up Harris. For those who are not aware, and they need to be. On a lighter note, we've had a Trump rally in Michigan today. Trump has had one in Wisconsin. He will be coming back to Michigan Thursday, and Vice President Pence will be in Flint tomorrow. So, excuse me. Nothing is going to stop this president. He is more energetic than anything. And where's Joe? Well, he's probably taking a nap. Probably got his blankie in the basement. You never know. Probably got his teddy bear too. Probably drooling as well. It's kind of gross. Needs a bib. So the president was in Michigan today. And if anybody has been paying attention to Governor Whitmer, most people don't, she has said that the president is not welcome in Michigan. Well, I see this as a big middle finger to someone, and the president's coming here anyway, and has been. I just love it. And in a great national event, we have a new justice. Justice Amy Coney Barrett is now on the bench. She was confirmed 52-46 in an all-weekend debate, which we heard nothing but whining and crying from the damn Democrats. Oh my God, it's Armageddon. We're all gonna lose everything. Grow up. This is why the hell they're there. This is their job. Not to piss and moan, but to debate logically, which they haven't done in 3 years. That's all they've done is accuse and abuse power that they hold at this time in the House. They will probably end up losing the House because of their bullshit. And we will keep the Senate, and we will re-elect Donald J. Trump. In the great ceremony last night, immediately she was sworn in by Justice Clarence Thomas.
Distinguished guests and my fellow citizens, this is a momentous day for America, for the United States Constitution, and for the fair and impartial rule of law. The Constitution is the ultimate defense of American liberty. The faithful application of the law is the cornerstone of our republic. That is why, as president, I have no more solemn obligation and no greater honor than to appoint Supreme Court justices. On this October evening, and it is so beautiful, the First Lady and I welcome you to the White House to bear witness to history. In a few moments, we will proudly swear in the newest member of the United States Supreme Court, Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She is one of our nation's most brilliant legal scholars, and she will make an outstanding justice on the highest court in our land. Justice Barrett's oath will be administered by the court's longest-serving member, currently on the bench, a man whose allegiance to the law has earned him the respect and gratitude of all Americans, Justice Clarence Thomas. Our country owes a great debt of thanks to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. We appreciate it very much, Mitch. Thank you. And we are grateful as well to the Senate Judiciary Chairman, Lindsey Graham. Thank you, Lindsey. Also with us, Senators Marsha Blackburn, Mike Braun, Bill Cassidy, Kevin Cramer, Ted Cruz, Steve Daines, Ron Johnson, James Lankford, Mike Lee, and Martha McSally. And I hope I didn't leave anybody out. And a very special thanks to our great Vice President, Mike Pence. Thank you, Mike. Also, I want to thank White House counsel Pat Cipollone. Thank you, Pat. And very importantly, I want to welcome Justice Barrett's husband, Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. Let me also recognize your 7 children, your great, beautiful children who have become really just very, very popular in this nation. People have been watching them and loving them, and they're watching right now back home in Indiana. Thank you very much. But I speak to everyone when I say that the Barrett family has captured America's heart. It is highly fitting that Justice Barrett fills the seat of a true pioneer for women, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Tonight, Justice Barrett becomes not only the 5th woman to serve on our nation's highest court, but the very first mother of school-aged children to become a Supreme Court justice. Very important. Over the past few weeks, the entire world has seen Justice Barrett's deep knowledge, tremendous poise, and towering intellect. She answered questions for hours on end. Throughout her entire confirmation, her impeccable credentials were unquestioned, unchallenged, and obvious to all. Justice Barrett earned a full academic scholarship to Notre Dame Law School, graduated first in her class, and served as a clerk for Justice Antonin Scalia. She was a beloved professor at Notre Dame Law School for 15 years before I very proudly appointed her to the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit in 2017. The American people have been profoundly impressed to learn of her achievements, her compassion, her generosity, her faith, and her sterling character. Justice Barrett made clear she will issue rulings based solely upon a faithful reading of the law and the Constitution as written, not legislate from the bench. The equal, impartial, and constitutional rule of law that we enjoy every day in America is one of the crowning achievements in the history of human civilization. It is the triumph of reason, experience, and the values which are eternal and everlasting. Our devotion to this inheritance is what has made America the most just, exceptional, and glorious nation ever to exist. I want every American child watching to understand that this is a very special and important ceremony. We are fulfilling the duty that passes to each new generation to sustain the national traditions and virtues that make possible everything we have achieved before that. We will do tomorrow because of our Constitution and our culture of freedom. You live in a land where anything is possible and where any dream can come true. No matter who you are, no matter your background, in America, everyone is entitled to equal protection under our laws, and your sacred rights can never, ever be taken away. The march of liberty that began with the American Revolution continues onward this evening. Tonight at the White House, we carry forward the cause of freedom, equality, and justice for which so many generations of Americans have given so much. We honor the cause for which men died to win the Civil War and for which they jumped out of airplanes and shed their blood on distant battlefields. We honor the immortal principles inspired millions in the struggle for civil rights, and we take special pride in the nation that inspires billions of people all over the world. We must never take this radiant inheritance for granted. We must never lose confidence in our history, our heritage, or in our heroes. To reach for the stars, we must stand upon the strong and sturdy foundation built by those incredible Americans who came before. Justice Barrett, as you take your oath tonight, the legacy of our ancestors falls to you. The American people put their trust in you and their faith in you as you take up the task of defending our laws, our Constitution, and this country that we all love. We ask God to give you wisdom and courage. I know you will make us all very, very proud as long as we are loyal to our founding and to our fellow citizens. America's future will be bright, America's destiny will be great, and America's people will forever and always be free. I now ask Justice Thomas to administer the oath. Thank you very much.
I do solemnly swear
I, Amy Coney Barrett, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you all for being here tonight. And thank you, President Trump, for selecting me to serve as an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. It's a privilege to be asked to serve my country in this office, and I stand here tonight truly honored and humbled. Thanks also to the Senate for giving its consent to my appointment. I am grateful for the confidence you have expressed in me, and I pledge to you and to the American people that I will discharge my duties to the very best of my ability. This was a rigorous confirmation process, and I thank all of you, especially Leader McConnell and Chairman Graham, for helping me to navigate it. My heartfelt thanks go to the members of the White House staff and Department of Justice who worked tirelessly to support me through this process. Your stamina is remarkable, and I have been the beneficiary of it. Jesse and I are also so grateful to the many people who have supported our family over these last several weeks. Through ways both tangible and intangible, you have made this day possible. Jesse and I have been truly awestruck by your generosity. I have spent a good amount of time over the last month at the Senate, both in meetings with individual senators and in days of hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee. The confirmation process has made ever clearer to me one of the fundamental differences between the federal judiciary and the United States Senate. And perhaps the most acute is the role of policy preferences. It is the job of a senator to pursue her policy preferences. In fact, it would be a dereliction of duty for her to put policy goals aside. By contrast, it is the job of a judge to resist her policy preferences. It would be a dereliction of duty for her to give in to them. Federal judges don't stand for election. Thus, they have no basis for claiming that their preferences reflect those of the people. This separation of duty from political preference is what makes the judiciary distinct among the three branches of government. A judge declares independence not only from Congress and the President, but also from the private beliefs that might otherwise move her. The judicial oath captures the essence of the judicial duty. The rule of law must always control. My fellow Americans, even though we judges don't face elections, we still work for you. It is your Constitution that establishes the rule of law and the judicial independence that is so central to it. The oath that I have solemnly taken tonight means at its core that I will do my job without any fear or favor, and that I will do so independently of both the political branches and of my own preferences. I love the Constitution and the democratic republic that it establishes, and I will devote myself to preserving it. Thank you.
And be right back, folks.
This world can get you down. There's just one thing you can do. You gotta get back up and shake it all around. No one's gonna tell me how I'm gonna boogie. Come on, everybody, boogie bumper tonight. No one's gonna tell me how I'm gonna boogie. Come on, everybody, boogie bumper tonight. No one's gonna tell me how to boogie. Come on, everybody, boogie bumper tonight.
Most weeknights, enjoying my good self UK Neil over at DLive for the Great Awakening show. That's over on DLive at dlive.tv/UK Neil. Get yourself out of that matrix and get over to the Great Awakening.
Join me, Rusty the Iceman, Sunday nights, 10:30 Standard Eastern Time on Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, and Facebook. And I'm back. A couple more things for you. Have some Lou Dobbs. Alright, shoot. Alright. It moved on me. I hate when that happens. Okay. see. Yeah, but it's off. Okay, now it's off. Let's see, where is it? I don't want it to. Yeah, I don't want to do that. And be sure I get you the right one here. Okay, let's see if this is it. No, it's not it. That's it. There we go.
Attorney Sidney Powell, General Michael Flynn's defense attorney, and Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch. Great to have you both with us. Let's turn to this vote tonight. This is an extraordinary moment with an extraordinary talent moving to the court. Sidney, your thoughts on the importance of her confirmation to the court?
Well, I love the fact that she's from a non-quote Ivy League end quote school. Her law school is excellent. Her career is impeccable. Her scholastic talents and achievements are extraordinary. She knows the law as well or better than anybody I've ever seen. I think she's going to be a remarkable and wonderful addition to the court and will hopefully stabilize it more than it has been in the past and help return us to a true interpretation of the Constitution as opposed to having justices create law.
Tom, we were talking with Christopher Scalia just before you, and talking about originalism, and I just couldn't help but think about the fact that this is a court that has decided on one case, well-known case, at least the Chief Justice did, with some support, enough support, to decide that a tax is a wonderful interpretation of the law, when indeed it was a fine in terms of original interpretation. Your thoughts?
Well, liberal or conservative, Chief
look at me,
Justice
that's a
Roberts
smile.
is the most political justice up there in some respects. The way he tries to thread the needle to try to satisfy both sides, and soon to be Justice Barrett is a great educator for the U.S. Constitution. The more she talked, the more people liked her. So she could have a dramatic influence not only on the court, but increasing the public respect for the Constitution. I'm excited as all get out because I'm heading over to the White House after this to celebrate and watch her swearing in. I think it was only 30 days ago that she was announced. This is remarkable. It's remarkable leadership by President Trump, and dare I say it, by the Senate Republicans. It's one of the few things they got right this year, getting this judge on the bench as quickly as they did.
Yeah, I don't often compliment the majority leader, but I will join you in doing so. Senator McConnell has done an extraordinary job, not only with Amy Coney Barrett's nomination, moving to confirmation, but with all of the judges that the president has nominated and moved into district courts and appellate courts. It's been a historic advancement. Sidney, I want to turn to the Biden family and this corruption scandal that has enveloped them as a result of Hunter Biden and a laptop that the FBI was in possession of for 10 months, but didn't do anything until a Delaware computer shop owner turned it over to one of their agents. What do you make of the impact of this scandal for the Bidens?
I think it is and should be completely devastating to his candidacy. His candidacy has always been a complete fraud. The other Democrats know exactly who he is and what he's been doing and the many problems that exist within the Biden family and the campaign. Install Kamala Harris in the office. The big question is, who would she pick as her vice president? Because when they take out Biden, whenever that is, she would be, quote, president, end quote, assuming that ticket were elected, and then she would get to simply choose her vice president, and that would be an unelected person. The whole thing is just another one of the Democrats' massive frauds on the American people. It's hideous.
Well, another of those massive frauds, and writ large, it may be on electoral history, is what they're doing with mail-in voting and outright voter fraud. No one's more involved in that assault on the American way of life and our electoral system than Judicial Watch. Tom, give us a sense of why Twitter and others and social media are just trying to shut down your messages on voter fraud, for crying out loud.
We put out a study, straightforward study. Over 300 counties in 29 states have more people on the rolls that are eligible and living there. So it's a 1.8 million extra names. I've raised the concern that mailing 100 million ballots out to people who didn't ask for them and ballot applications out to people who didn't ask for them will it result in increased voter fraud and chaos on Election Day. They deleted those tweets or suppressing those tweets because A, they're in dispute, and B, they might mislead people. So they're completely accurate. It's been well established by every election law expert until this year that voting by mail is riskier in terms of voter fraud. And frankly, you're more likely to have your vote thrown out if you vote by mail. I tell you what, if you're listening to me, vote in person, especially so close to the election. Wait till you can go either in person, early voting, or vote on Election Day. It's the best way to ensure your vote's going to count. Twitter doesn't want you to know that. You know why? Because they still think it would help Democrats to have more people vote in person, vote by mail, because they think that they're more likely to do so. A, I don't even believe that's true technically, but practically they think politically it's helpful for them. So they're going to suppress questions about relying on the mails to vote. It's unlawful business practices as far as I'm concerned. It's fraud, and it should be stopped by the FTC.
And one thing they did not mention, now, it really has not been widely publicized that Nancy Pelosi said in a press conference she is looking into the 25th Amendment in hopes that Biden would be elected. That's how they would remove him. And who knows who's behind it would be vice president. A lot of people think it's Michael Obama, but then I think it's Hillary Clinton. She is still not over 2016, and she never will. She'll take that to her grave. She will never get over this. When it comes to election mail-in fraud, there's many reasons. There's harvesting. There's throwing out ballots, destroying them. There's also a lot of fight in the courts of extending counting ballots. Why? Because on the 20th, no matter what, the president, that's the last day the president would be president. Then guess who it goes to? This is why they're pulling their tricks. We can't allow this. The president is fighting all this in court. He has won pretty much a good amount of these cases that I'm aware of. And he needs to appeal the one in Pennsylvania.
See every government agency under the sun. Instead, they're allowed to do it with barely a yawn from this town.
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court has just ruled against the Democrats. This is breaking news. Has just ruled against the Democrats, voting 5-3 to deny the permission for voters to have 6 days after the election in which to have their ballots valid.
But Pennsylvania still says no.
Your take, Sid, on that ruling, that judgment?
Well, that's progress. That's definitely a step in the right direction. But they should not be able to send out ballots to people who have not requested them. It is just a situation ripe for massive fraud. And frankly, I think that's why they want to do it, because they know they can take ballots and fill them in for other people, as opposed to having somebody have to go in and vote. Voting is so important, and every illegal vote,
as we've seen at the beginning of the show,
vote takes away the valid vote of an American citizen.
It really does. And I may not like somebody's vote the way they vote, but it's their right to do so. You can only educate them and hope they come to their senses. And this is why they are so scared. Do you see the difference? Oh, I can't have the music. So this is why. Huge, huge difference, my friends. So let's have a message from Uncle Ted. He was at the peaceful protest today in Michigan. I was going to show it, but because of the time, it's a little bit too much. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow if I got a few minutes. Because it's quite lengthy, but it's okay.
Well, look at me, that's a smile on my face. You know it don't come cheap. Sure, I live the American dream. Go ahead and crucify me. I'm backstage here in Lansing, Michigan with the great President Donald Trump and all his commando forces of law enforcement, of law and order, and the shit kickers in the asset column of America that put their heart and soul in being the best that they can be. I'd like to call them Patriot Samurai. Jose, huh? Patriot Samurai? We're surrounded by Marines and Air Force and Coast Guard and Navy and Army. We got nothing but the masters of shit kickerdom here. I'm almost drunk on freedom right now. October 27th, 2020. It is it really 10 after 2? Is that right?
That's correct.
Just about 10 after 2. That would be 1,400 hours, right?
Hey, Leo.
Yes, sir. 1410? Is that right, Commando? 1410. Military clockwork. Clockwork day glow orange. Uncle Ted reporting for duty. Never over, never out, never bend over, let Teddy take over, Rover. I performed a fire-breathing Star-Spangled Banner. People just randomly pulled out marshmallows and roasted them on the flames coming off of my guitar. And there was some flamage coming out of my ass too, because it was so sincere, so emotional. And I want to thank everybody for joining me on this electronic gonzo intergalactic internet Wi-Fi bonsai campfire where truth, logic, and common sense and God, family, country, freedom, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, the Ten Commandments, the Golden Rule, law and order, freedom over Marxism. You realize that's the juncture we are now facing. Like my buddy said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Anyhow, we are now facing the choice. I think like never before in America, a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for freedom. A vote for America, real America. A vote for the other side is literally a vote for arson, Black Lives Matter terrorists, MS-13, where Nancy Pelosi tries to find redeeming values of the gang whose battle cry is rape, torture, murder. Nancy Pelosi, the Democrat squawk master, tried to tell the world that the gangbangers, rape, torture, murder of MS-13 somehow were just wonderful people. That's what the other side represents. It's toxic. It's anti-American, it's anti-freedom, it's anti-human. So let's all roll up our shit kicker sleeves. Boy, talking about shit kickers, I'm here in Lansing, Michigan with Michiganiacs on fire with patriotism and God, family, country, freedom. I'm telling you, if all of America was like a Trump rally, there'd be no crime, there'd be no slobbering, there'd be no slovenliness, there'd be no comfortable numbnuts. The people at a Trump rally are so good, positive, hardworking, dedicated, patriotic, God, family, country. So be sure you get everybody in your life. Remember, the enemy didn't win in those Democrat states. The Democrats didn't win in those Democrat high crime, feces and needle shitholes. The Democrats didn't win. The conservatives lost because so many conservatives do not vote. I'm spending time today with heroes of the U.S. Marine Corps, the U.S. Army, Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, United States Navy, Air Force, the Coast Guard, the best people in the world, warriors who sacrificed for our freedom. We owe them the vote that they paid for with blood and guts and lives. If you don't vote, the enemy laughs in your face. So go to huntthevote.org, please. And I know everybody on my Facebook is already probably well ensconced in the asset column of America. But get everybody you know, people at work and church and school, at the gun range, at the bowling alley, at the barbecue, at deer camp. Let's get everybody to vote who believes in God, family, country, freedom, law, and order. We the people experimenting in self-government. Come on.
God bless America.
I'm just a guitar player and I figured that shit out all by myself. Truth, logic, common sense. It is truth, logic, and commonly sensible. Get them to go to huntthevote.org, huntthevote.org, and just pledge that you will vote those basic foundational values that made America the last and only best place. If we lose freedom here, there's no place else to go. It doesn't exist anyplace else. Nobody else is experimenting in self-government. Nobody else are we the people. Nobody else has a constitution and a Bill of Rights like this. Good God in heaven, literally good God in heaven, say a prayer to God that President Trump remains healthy and energized. What a fireball this president is. You know, Donald Trump is as close to Ted Nugent as you'll ever get in politics. This guy could leave me in his vapor trail. He is a son of a bitch. He is the ultimate shit kicker, and he's our president. Let's do it for 4 more years and stop these Marxists. Stop the haters. Stop the arsonists. Stop the Antifa scum. Get everybody you know. Huntthevote.org. Pledge to register and vote. There's still time. Today is the 27th of October. I should be in a duck blind. It's just perfect. Cold, pissing rain in October in Michigan. And this place, what do you think? There's 20,000 people out there? There's probably 10,000 inside, another 10,000 outside trying to get in the shitty, freezing cold rain of Michigan, October. These are my shit kickers. We don't care about. I got my Stormy Cromer from the Upper Peninsula. This is my Uper Stormy Cromer hat. It keeps me warm and snuggled. In fact, I'm getting Jose one because he's going to freeze if that dome gets some icicles on it. You need a Stormy Cromer. And I got my Stormy Cromer jacket, and I got my record rack snuggled down vest. And you know, a little earlier I was cocked, locked, and ready to rock without the Glock, Doc. No, here it is with the president. I'm backstage in the secure area, so I'm cocked, locked, and ready to rock without the Glock, Doc. But that's okay, because I obey the Secret Service, and they were astonished at the hardware that we brought with us. And they loved it, they fondled it, and then they took it. Okay, but I'll get it back as soon as we leave. I'm cocked, locked, and ready to rock without the Glock, Doc, for Dr. Spock. Anyhow, Ted Nugent reporting for duty. I'm duty bound. God, family, country, freedom. Semper Fi, Chesty Puller with a Gibson Birdland from Kalamazoo, Michigan, where flames were coming out all ends, playing the national anthem because I felt, believed, cherished, and revered every lyric, every note, every sonic deliverance. God bless you all. Thanks for joining me on social media, goofball, Facebook, Gonzo Intergalactic Communication Campfire. I will see you here shortly. I'm going to go out now with the President of the United States of America in Lansing, Michigan. This is real Michigan. And to my sister Kathy, hi Kathy, I love you. And to all my friends out there, I love all of you, you little monkeys. You're like a bunch of crazy monkeys running amok. And I'm your daddy monkey. I'm like what they call the silverback. I'm like the silverback gorilla of rock and roll. Cocked, locked, and ready to rock without the Glock, Doc. It's so adorable. I didn't invent Precious, but today I'm perfecting it. See you on the other side. I'll go squeeze the president and give him a big hug for you. Live it up. HuntTheVote.org. If we don't vote, Nancy Pelosi will laugh in our face. Don't let it happen. Freedom versus Marxism. Good hunting. See you here shortly. God bless America. God bless this great president.
Listen to Uncle Ted. And for your listening pleasure.
And to perform the national anthem, Michigan's own Ted Nugent.
God bless real Michigan. God bless.
Amen. Now, how's that for the anthem? And finally, let's leave off with a little bit of humor. It's always good to laugh at the end of some serious stuff.
We still have comedy, though. We still have great comedy out there. There's always rambling Joe Biden. What the f***?
Good afternoon, everyone. As Lily already indicated, I'm Joe Biden's husband, Joe Biden. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store and in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. What happens? They make you management. You can't get paid overtime.
Joe said that even people with Tourette's go, no.
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden. And we're going to create a new bio-based multi-manufacturing job environment to deal farmers in on the benefits of a changing economy.
No. What is going on?
You're going to have travel bans. You're going to not be able to have economic intercourse. Cannot let this. We've never allowed any crisis from the Civil War straight through to the pandemic of 17, all the way around 16. We have never let our democracy take second fiddle. We can both have a democracy and elections, and at the same time correct the public health.
Joe is like your uncle who's on a new drug and hasn't got the dosage right.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot of weed smokers. Well, thanks for giving me the time.
Thank
so
you.
they don't wonder where I am.
Now I know. When they ask me, where is Joe Biden, I say he was on the 2 p.m. show on MSNBC.
I'm proud to work with Barack America. He's not a superhero, you idiot. Come here.
We, the people, we hold these truths, etc. Sounds corny, but it's real. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
The thing.
When FDR was on television, there was no TV back then. Come here, Joe. Sit down.
Some days I get up like you and I wonder whether it's 2020 or 1920. What I hear. Because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me. We can only reelect Donald Trump if, in fact, we get engaged in this circular firing squad here. It's got to be a positive campaign, so join us. No, you haven't. You're a lying, dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. Chip in and support our campaign. Text Joe 23. Excuse me, I got to get this right. Joe to 30330. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act.
He's such an idiot. Okay, real quick. Steph and D-Live sent this. Let's see what we got.
My grandpop was named Ambrose Finnegan. At his kitchen table I learned. I used to say, Joey, nobody's better than you, but you're no better than anybody else. Maybe it's the Scranton in me. I got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Worried about whether they can make next month's mortgage payment. Well, it is what it is because he is who he is. Huh? That's why it is what it is. He is who he is. You know, remember when he went on, he decided he was going to convince Bob Woodward what a smart guy he was. So he went on, yeah, smart guy. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure, isolate, and punish China. Folks, true international effort to pressure, isolate, and punish China. Donald Trump thinks health care. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. I gotta admit, this is all within our power. is all within our power. But we're getting there, man. Hang on. Hang on. To send every single person qualified to community college free. To community college free. And if I keep going, you're going to freeze your fingers off. It wasn't. Donald Trump hasn't delivered on a damn thing he said he'd do. True international effort to pressure, isolate, and punish China. Joey, nobody's better than you, but you're no better than anybody else. Maybe it's the Scranton in me. I got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder.
That's always good. Thanks a lot, Steph. Thank you all for joining. I actually almost made it under 3 hours, but nope. It's over 3 hours. That's all right. Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you. I'll be back maybe tomorrow or the next night. God only knows when. I usually send out tweets at the time. So God bless the President of the United States. The first family, the Vice President, God bless them as well. First responders, law enforcement, and God bless the Secret Service that protects our President. Get out, and God bless everybody else from Border Patrol and the Coast Guard and the military, of course. So, in that note, get out and vote in person. Vote red. We must take this House back. We must keep the Senate and re-elect Donald Trump. That's 100% given. We have to do it. I'm going to open up the chest for the D-Live people. So get out and vote. Give a friend. Take them with you. Like the president has said, get your boss. Say, hey, boss, let's go out. And let's go vote. So try to persuade peacefully. Be kind to each other. Try to educate other people as well. There's some people that may not understand, but in time, if the right, and let's see, Becca got 32 lemons, Steph got 20 lemons, and in D-Live. So if you can educate anybody before the election, even after the election, wake them up. Say, hey, let's go to a rally. You'll like it. You'll enjoy it. Let's watch. Watch it. You will totally see the energy. You will feel the energy of this man. He has the energy from us and vice versa. This man is incredible. Thank you for the ice cream. Really appreciate that stuff. And, let's keep him in our prayers for the best wisdom, health, along with the first family and second family as well. The vice president will be here tomorrow, and the president will be here on Thursday. Unfortunately, I will be working and going to school at that time, which kind of sucks. Hopefully, he will be back before Election Day, and if I get a chance to go, I'll definitely stream it. That's for damn sure. If you haven't been to a rally, get to one. You will love it. The people are friendly. The atmosphere is electric. Come on, let's get going. Let's get him across this finish line. Make sure there's no funny business in the ballots. And keep an open mind, open heart. Thank y'all very much. I'll see you soon. God bless you. It's going to be quite a ride, stuff. That's for damn sure.